Hey, what up, my comic book peeps? It's your boy J Rocks. Today we'll be doing a chit chat about why we love comics, what got us into them, and what characters we have an attachment to. Today I got my guest Cami, aka Reader 1717, and Tim Merritt. Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys been?
Good, 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 good.
Good.
Okay, okay. How your comics been treating you?
It's been,
You been getting some good reads on the your pull list you get, or have you been disappointed? I've been hearing a lot of some for kind of disappointed with Marvel with some of the Marvel titles.
Yeah, my pull list is ever shrinking. My back issues are growing in numbers, but the pull list is being cut down to size because I don't think I actually, other than Star Wars, I don't think I have any other Marvel on my pull list.
Okay. What
I've cut
about
it
you,
down
Ken?
quite a bit.
no, I think I'm done altogether with Marvel. I was down to Magneto, but I'm not sure that's even a thing anymore. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like when you have characters that have been established for 50 years, 60 years, and you're a long time reader. After a while, the stories will be repetitive, and I think a lot of it is to do with that. That's why like newer readers will like Marvel or DC, but if you've been reading them for a long time, you want something different. That's kind of what I get from it.
yeah,
Cause yeah, I like a lot of the old back issues as well, like old X-Men, Batman, and I tried reading the new stuff, and I'm like, it's kind of a lot of the same. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Well,
I
part
don't
of the problem
follow.
is
So
part
I
of
don't
it is
follow.
rebooting everything every 6 months.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I hear that. Yeah, when I was collecting books, back when I was reading when I was younger, there was never like a reboot or anything. The closest thing you got to a reboot was when Image came out, the new Image company. So that was kind of like, oh, all these characters are new and they're all number ones and so forth.
Yeah,
Hello, can you guys hear me?
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All right, yeah. So yeah, that was like, yeah, how you said there was not a lot of reboots. Like comics went up to issue 500, 550. Now you're lucky if it goes to 80 before there's a reboot again.
Right, right.
Well, I think that, and also I think the major two, anyways, are it's all for like film and TV. Like they write comics differently than they used to.
Mm,
They have these huge arcs and big storylines now. Like there's never like a one, two, three kind of story told like in one issue, two issues. You got to be at least 5 to 6 issues in to get a whole story, and they do it so that something will get picked up.
yeah.
And it goes towards indie stuff too. Like
Also, I think it's because like back in the days there wasn't trade or graphic novels, whatever you I think trade is like from actual single issues ongoing series,
mhm.
and there wasn't that back in the days. So I think a lot of it is the stories have to be 6 issues so that they can bring out a trade. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
true.
five different stories in one trade. You know what I mean? So it's not before each issue was like its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think now it's I kind of like that because now that I started buying trades and hardcovers, I like collecting that way instead of having single issues all over the place. I like waiting 6 months and buying one book instead of getting it every month because
I
a
think
lot
a
of
lot of people
Mhm.
are doing what you're doing, Jay. I think a lot of people are, including myself, trade waiting, just for space as well, purposes of
Yeah,
space and.
yeah, you take up space, you save space, and you reach your books easier on the shelf. You just grab whichever one you want.
Hmm.
Yeah, I find that a lot easier. Also because I used to do a lot of buying back issues, so I was never used to waiting a month to finish my story. Like I'll buy 20 issues, issue 1 through 20. When I'm done reading one, I go on to the next. I read at my own pace. If I want to read 3 issues today, I will. If I want to read one, I will. And I try doing the current book. I'll read one, and I'm like, well, I want to finish the story, and now I gotta wait a month, and I'm not patient enough to do that. I'm like, by the time next month comes around, I might have already lost interest in finding out what happened. You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah,
into another story. I'm reading something else now.
I
It's
think that's the biggest problem that I think people have dropped off books like Saga.
Hmm.
because of the big hiatuses. I mean, Afterlife with Archie, like there's these different books where you're waiting and waiting, and then you can't remember what happened.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
You know?
when I tried reading current books, like buying, I didn't even know they came out on Wednesdays. Like I found that out through you guys on YouTube. Like, oh, they have pull lists every Wednesday, whatever. 'Cause I was buying back issues. I was buying like keys or regular run fillers, whatever. Then I find out through all that, and I go, all right, I want to follow some of the. I don't know if you guys seen the video on it. I was like, you know what? I want to follow some of the current books because I want to support the books that are out right now and stuff. So comics could stay around. You need the new stuff to sell. The old stuff
Right.
is already there. You buy, you buy. You don't, you don't. But
Mhm.
the new stuff has to sell for comics to keep going.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it. So I wanted to like be part of that. And I started buying them. I'm like, all right, so they're out on Wednesdays, whatever. And I just couldn't do it. I did it for like 6 months. I didn't like it, and I went back to buying trades and back issues. Like, it wasn't my thing, especially with stories like Outcast and Walking Dead.
Oh yeah.
They move along slow. So with one issue, I feel you're not getting anything. You need to read 3 or 4 issues at
Yeah.
once.
Yeah. Even people who are buying them in singles, sometimes they just let them pile up so that they
Yeah,
can read one complete story.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, yeah, definitely. What are you reading right now, Tim?
Right. Well, today I picked up like 6 issues of Harold County. Kind of excited about that.
Okay.
Like on my pool, like my favorite is still probably East to West. Yeah, the latest issue of that was really,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, I bought that hardcover of East to West. I really enjoyed it, but it's like kind of a slow build up.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely think that's something that in single issues is kind of like a drag that you're like just when it's starting to get somewhere, you're like, oh, I gotta wait for the next issue. Which I know they do that on purpose to leave you in a cliffhanger, leaving you
yeah.
one anxious for the next one.
That's true. I mean, and with like Hickman's writing in particular, that's kind of how he does it. He's one of those writers that the first like 22 pages is all build up for the last two, and then there's like a big cliffhanger. Then you have to.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of like that. I like that way of storytelling because I don't want everything to be revealed in the first issue. You know what I mean? It's like why get the rest then? Like I like things to build up a little. When I buy a trade, I don't want to be halfway through it and feel like I know everything that's gonna happen already. You know what I mean? Like I like to be surprised. I think like wow, this happened or this not after the 50th page. Be like all right, like I kind of see where it's going already and it takes away from the excitement.
Totally. Yeah.
All right, now I wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys think? Like, what got you into comics? Like, was it cartoons, movies, or you just saw a comic store, or
Well, I was I grew up in Germany. My dad was in the army, and it was
Mhm.
GI Joe cartoons, and then like the GI Joe action figures.
Okay, all the GI Joe action figures were big.
Yeah. So it went from like GI Joe comics to like Transformer comic books to like the X Men, and then it just kind of took off from there. So, like for 10 years, like 10 solid years, I didn't collect anything but X Men. It was all Uncanny X Men or like the New Mutants and X Force and all the peripheral X Men stuff, but that was it. And finally got
Yeah, yeah,
then
GI Joes were big in the 80s. When me as a kid, when I think 80s, I remember the toys I had. So that's the characters I remember was GI Joe, He-Man, Ninja Turtles.
good
Yeah,
stuff.
definitely. What got you into comics, Cammy?
for me, I was actually pretty young. I was sick a lot when I was a kid, and one of my uncles he brought me a comic book when I was in the hospital. It was a Wolverine and Spider-Man team up book, and you know that's kind of what got me into comics. And then yeah, there was a heavy influence from like Saturday morning cartoons, stuff like Super Friends, and then watching Wonder Woman, Linda Carter. Um, Same thing, Ninja Turtles, GI Joe, Thundercats, He-Man, Transformers, everything. It was a huge influence for me. I'm still waiting for my She-Ra comic book, but we can only cross our fingers that that'll happen. But yeah, So
Well,
same
the
sort of
Eternity
thing.
War. I heard the Eternity War is kind of like more Shira based than I don't know. I haven't read it, but I see her on all the covers more than He-Man.
Yeah, she's quite integrated into the comic, which is really cool, and they're doing a really good job with it. It's interesting. I don't know that many people that's reading it right now. Like I'm reading it, and I think another YouTuber, one other YouTuber I know of that is reading it. But it's good from a Masters of the Universe fan standpoint.
Yeah,
It's
I
good.
loved He-Man. He-Man were some of my favorite toys growing up.
Yeah.
He-Man, Ninja Turtles. Um, Also Shira, I think she was like very girl power. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, she's totally like a feminist icon, if you ask
yeah,
me.
she was like a girl that she knew how to take care of herself. You know, if you
Yeah.
ever saw He-Man come out on the Shira cartoons, usually you have this thing in cartoons and movies where the girl needs saving, and the guy's what is it? The knight in shining armor, whatever you call it. And with Shira, if you notice, in a lot of them, He-Man's the one in trouble, and she would come to his rescue.
Yeah.
I like it because it's her cartoon, so she should be the hero. It's
Oh,
her,
it was
you know what
amazing
I
what
mean?
they
It's her
did with
title.
that cartoon. It was amazing what they did with it. Yeah, the gender roles and the tropes were totally reversed, and she was the one saving like the big strong guys. Like there were characters like Bo, for instance, and every time she had to save them, and it was all like all the different female co-characters. They were very prominent, and it was never. Yeah, they just flipped all the tropes on its head. So
Yeah,
I
I
think in terms
remember.
of feminist
Mhm.
material for young girls, that's right up there. It's a very underrated sort of TV show, in my opinion, but
Yeah,
it
also
had a
like,
very big impact, I think.
also since I was a boy,
Hmm.
I would watch it and I wouldn't feel embarrassed like, oh, I'm watching a girl cartoon. You know, I feel like she's still kind of
She was a
manly.
badass. She
Yeah,
was a
like she's still manly. I still felt like, oh, it's the same thing as He-Man. You know, like it
she
wasn't
could
like, oh,
kick
it's
your
a girl
ass in
cartoon.
heels. I mean,
The
she was
she
awesome.
has a pink rainbow. I don't want to watch, you know, because you know, as like little kid, you think that way. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's for girls or whatever. And I didn't feel embarrassed to watch that. Like I would watch it, and my cousin, I grew up with my cousin. She's my age, and she was really into She-Ra and Rainbow Bright, and I was into like He-Man and Ninja Turtles, but we both watched She-Ra.
Yeah,
We felt it was part of that same universe. Like it was the same
of
thing as
course.
He-Man, and she would watch He-Man. You know, like it was kind of all intertwined.
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to see a He-Man omnibus. I think they went up to like
They have the
25
little
issues.
mini comic,
Yeah,
the
yeah, I seen
big
it, but those are like the old issues, like the old ones that came
the
with
mini
the toys.
comics that used to come with
Yeah,
the
I
action
still want to
figures.
get that. I just haven't found it, but I'm definitely gonna buy that down the road. But I would like to
Yeah.
see one with the with what they're writing right now, with the stuff I see you show on your pull list.
Yeah, I mean, those
I would like,
comics,
yeah, I would
they
like
are
to
what
see
they
one
are for their
with
time, but what's that?
yeah, I want to say like the ones you're reading right now, the current stuff from He-Man. I would like to see that collected in one book because I
Oh,
believe the
yeah.
first story ended. It went like 25 issues or something like that, and then
Right,
the
yeah.
new one is the Eternity War. So
That's
they could
correct.
make an omnibus off those 25 issues.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I hope they do that. I'm definitely buying that if that happens. I would also love to see a movie, a new He-Man movie.
Yeah, that would be good. Dolph Lundgren was in that was the first He-Man, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was so disappointed in that movie, in the old one. They like when I saw those guys that look like stormtroopers, and then every time Skeletor came into the hallway, it just reminded me of Star Wars. Like, well, they're trying to make them Darth Vader, and those guys are like stormtroopers, except they're in black suits instead of white suits.
Right.
It just felt like a cheap wannabe Star Wars knockoff. And I go, He-Man is like totally different from Star Wars.
That was the
Like, I
movie.
go, now people are gonna compare it to Star Wars, and it's something that's not gonna be able to live up to. You know what I mean? Cause
Yeah.
so it's like they set themselves up for failure with that. Like
Hmm.
trying to make it like something that's so successful already.
It's weird because He-Man is sort of a cross between science fiction. It's a marrying of that and fantasy, right?
Yeah,
So
I see it more like a fantasy, but in space. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, science fiction, how you said as well.
it's science fiction meets fantasy. It's yeah.
I don't know if you ever seen Warlord, John Carter, Warlord of Mars.
I haven't seen the movie. No, no.
That movie.
I have some Warlord comics, but
Yeah, no, everybody said that movie was sorry because it didn't make a lot of money, but I feel it's a good movie. I'm on the minority there. I thought it was really good. I don't read the comics, but it made me want to find out about the comics. If I read the comics, I might compare it to it and say it's not the same thing. But I enjoyed the movie, and I feel that's kind of what He-Man should have been, what that movie was. Like
Yeah.
they're in space, and they're kind of like Conan in space.
Yeah, if they were going to ever remake it, this is the time to do it. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm not a big fan of the comic book genre of film,
hmm
um, but I know a lot of people love it, and you know, there's always that debate about does it actually bring in a new audience to comic books.
yeah.
I've heard kind of a split decision. I know a bunch of people that are just fine with the movies and they don't really want to, get invested with the comics and stuff. And then I know, I know some people where they have asked or it's piqued their interest. But
I'm in that group. I started getting comics because of the movies, because of it's probably not the popular thing people want to hear. Those long-time readers like, oh, he's jumping on the bandwagon, and you know.
no, it's
But I
cool.
started because of the movies. Like when I saw the Batman movies, I was like, I know Batman. I see his cartoons. He's not a new character to me. That's not gonna make me wanna go pick up a comic because I feel like I know enough about him where I don't need to do that. Or X-Men, I always loved X-Men. I saw the movies. I was excited to see the characters come to life. Like, let's see what they do with this.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're excited and you're satisfied. Sometimes you're excited and you're disappointed because it's not what you wanted it to be. But then I saw movies like Guardians, where these are characters I never heard of, and I love the movie, and that's what really got me into comics. I was like, wow, like I really like these characters. It's a good movie. I never heard of these comics, so it made me want to pick up those books. And then from there, it was a whole snowball effect. I started buying other titles I remember and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't really matter what sort of sparks your interest or what sort of motivates you to get into comics. Um, I think there's all different ways that we come to it.
hmm
It's just what we get out of it once you're in it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
keeping an open mind is always a good thing for sure.
yeah, definitely. I think sometimes too it's good to see something fresh and new. Guardians was a big success and it was something different, characters people haven't heard of. So they
Yeah.
might not even if they didn't have that Marvel logo at the beginning of the movie, you might not even know it was a Marvel movie. You know what I
I
mean?
know I know a lot of people like for me the Batman animated TV series was huge.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I know a lot of people that at that time when it came out, that and the X-Men cartoon as well, a lot of people jumped on into comics that I know, like when I was in high school,
hmm
because of those two TV shows, and those were like animated shows, and
Yeah,
they got
definitely.
a lot of people into the comic book shops.
Yeah, that's what got me into comics as a kid was the X-Men cartoons.
Yeah,
I saw the cartoons every Saturday. I lived in this big apartment complex, and they had like tables and benches and basketball courts and stuff in the front, like like a little park that's for the apartments. And every Saturday morning after the X-Men cartoons, we all went out because we all went to the same elementary together. We all went out and hanged out on that table to talk about the latest episode. Oh, did you see it? Did you all watch
yeah,
it already? Nobody would come up till after the episode finished. Then we'll come out and
that's
play and talk
awesome.
about it. Yeah, after it was over, we'll come out, play, and talk about it.
Yeah,
And even my first year of junior high, because I started buying comics in elementary because I got into X-Men. I would buy X-Men and Batman, Spawn.
yeah.
And even when
Spawn
I
was
started my first year of junior high, we would show up in school with our comics. I
yeah.
I feel like that's missing nowadays. That's not around anymore. I don't know.
No,
I'm not in school anymore, so I wouldn't know. But I feel like
no,
I don't think it's
it
there.
it's not around anymore. I mean, I don't, and that's one thing I think I'm the most sad about in terms of the way comics are today as a hobby.
Yeah,
When you go into any shop, right, still your major demographic in there is older men.
yeah,
There are no kids at all, really. It's almost like the kids comics aren't getting the same push as the mainstream or adult alternative comics. Like there needs to be a bigger market for kids books. I mean, there is a lot of kids books out there in Toronto, in the city I live in. There's one whole bookshop, like it's a comic book store dedicated just for kids comics, which is pretty cool. But that's like one shop that I know of in the whole city of Toronto. So
What about you, Tim? Do you have kids like that read comics or anything?
Yeah, I mean, one of my kids, he's got a couple books on a pull list. Uh, my daughter got into some stuff. Her girlfriend reads comics.
Oh, that's cool.
My girlfriend gets books. I mean, there's
Yeah, you feel, what about the prices? Do you feel the reason a lot of kids don't buy books is because they're so expensive?
yeah. I bought like it was a Munchkin's holiday special or something today. I think it was like $6. It was crazy. It was like an annual.
Yeah, that's ridiculous to me. When I saw the price of current books nowadays at $4 or $5, sometimes even six, how you said,
Yeah,
it's like I don't think kids can afford to read comics. You know what I mean? Like
right.
I don't think they can afford to buy 4 issues a week or whatever. That would be like what, $20 for a
Yeah,
kid. $20 they could go out for the whole weekend and do something else.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, cause as a kid with $3, I'll go hit those back issue bins and I'll leave with like 10 books. For like $3.
Right. Or buy a candy bar. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And now I feel like if you give a kid $5, you can sometimes not even buy one book.
No.
Back then with $5 you buy a few books and you're good for the week. You buy like 5 or 6 books and still probably get change in return. And also I've seen in a lot of comic stores, they got it in their head that because a book is old, it's worth money when most of the time they're not. If anything, they lose value. Most of the books that come out now in 4 months are gonna are worth 50 cents, a quarter,
right.
and some places they leave them at the same price or they higher it.
That's why for me personally, like I just buy stuff that makes me happy. I don't go for like quote unquote hot books or whatever the market is determining as a hot book. I go for my idea of a hot book is something that I really want because I love the character or the creative team or whatever the story in that
Yeah,
particular run or whatever. It's a much more personal connection for me. Of course, if you get keys, that's cool too. But for me, keys don't have any relevance if it doesn't have relevance to me.
Right.
Like
yeah,
I'm not in it to sort of like buy a book and then flip it. I know there's some people that are, and that's cool if that's what they want to do. That's fine.
yeah,
But that's just not how I collect or how I
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
read my
Different people
books.
have different. Some
Yeah.
people don't even read the books they buy. And everybody collects differently. I started that way,
Yep.
where you buy your books, you buy these solely on the cover. Oh, I like that cover. I like that cover. You buy them, and you just have them there because you like looking at the covers, and you never even bother opening the book. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Or like when you used to collect cards, it's just a cover. You look at the picture, and you don't read it or anything. Just put it in a sleeve.
Yep.
Like I used to do that. I used to buy cards, and they just fit in a folder. And then I started buying right now when I got back into comics, a lot of times I would just buy a book and never read it, but I just look at the cover because I thought it looked cool. And
Well,
then
that's kind of appreciating the art, right? That's
yeah,
art is obviously like it's a
artist,
huge part of
yes,
comics. It's that
hmm
visual medium that we're sort of into, right?
hmm
And so I would totally buy a book that was wordless, had nothing written in it. If it was an artist that I really liked, like Bernie Wrightson or J.H. Williams III. Like if he did a silent Batwoman issue,
hmm
I'd be all over that. I don't need words. He can tell a story just through his panels. So
yeah. What
A lot,
about you, Tim? You ever buy books just based on the cover?
no, a lot of the stuff that it's either stuff I'm into or just stuff that Cammy recommends.
Okay.
So,
he's giving me too much credit.
That's all. You know your shit, Cammy.
like
Tim's
that
What?
being too nice.
was
You,
great.
you, you, I know that you get a lot of stuff. Not that I necessarily read, but that I know a lot about though. Like you'll put Ninja Turtles out there or Shiro, and I'm like I read Ninja Turtles. I don't read Shiro, but I'm like I know these characters. I know
Yeah.
who they are. I know their stories, their background. 'Cause a lot of times people put someone else, and I'm like, yeah, I mean I seen that character. I know his name, but I don't know anything about him. And these
Right.
are characters like the ones you show are a lot of characters that I'm pretty well versed in as far as like their background.
Yep.
Yeah. We were
Yeah.
talking about earlier, a couple minutes ago. You're talking about like a silent issue. The last issue of East to West didn't have any dialogue until the last page. It was
Yeah.
That's awesome though.
Yeah,
I think it takes a lot to tell a story without having to use words to explain. That's an art and
Yeah,
craft in and of itself, you know.
right.
yeah. The artist is definitely it's very important. That's a big part of why I like comics is the artwork. Or else I'd be reading novels or something, or
Yeah,
watching.
well, there's always that debate about you know, what's more important, the art or the writing. And to me, I think, you know, when it comes to comics, I think it's sort of, you have to have both in terms
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
like, for me personally, I mean, I can appreciate one or the other, but my ideal circumstance is to have, like, I mean, both,
yeah. You
because
want to have both, but
yeah.
in the ideal world, you want all your books to have both. But if one thing's gonna be lacking, I think the writing's more important because it's what carries all the substance of the
Yeah,
dialogue, the character,
it
building
drives it.
character, that their
Drives it
personality and
forward.
so forth. Yeah, because with art, you can tell a story, but you can't give each individual their swag, their
Yeah.
style. Like, you need words for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, art is definitely important because I see some artists when they're drawing that one thing you have to tell a story with the panels, the movement, and everything so you could get an idea of what's happening. But also, I notice sometimes, like in some books, they have to have emotion. Like if something dangerous is happening, you want the face to be like, he's scared or something, or he's angry, or they have to have emotion. Sometimes you see in some books when the character's yelling, his face looks one way, and then when he's happy, it's the same exact face. You're like, it should be two totally different reactions.
Mhm. No, I totally agree. I mean, right now, I mean, I'm probably one of the few people tolerating Wonder Woman on its current run with the Finches, but
Mhm.
that's, I mean, the way that, like, some people love David Finch's artwork. I'm really not a huge fan of his artwork. I mean, I could take it or leave it, but the way he draws Wonder Woman's face is terrible. She looks like she's 12, and I think that creeps people out. Like, it's a there's a creepazoid factor there. You know, nobody really. She's a Wonder Woman is a woman. She's not a teenage
Yeah.
girl, or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So I think, you know, that first, I think it was probably the first issue when she was stepping out of the shower,
Hmm.
and you see this very adult female body with this, like, little girl's face on it. It's kind of disturbing. Like, so
Yeah.
Art, you got to watch how you draw things and how you depict, you know,
Yeah.
people's ages and the gender and stuff like that. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you gotta make some characters look older than others. Like in some of the older books, they will draw Kitty Pryde. She's supposed to be 13, and she will look the same as Jean Grey. And you're like, well, they're supposed to be two totally different ages. And the
yep.
only thing that they would make so that she didn't look the same age is like, well, we're gonna draw the faces are gonna look the same, but her body won't be the same. She won't have like a big bra. You know what I mean? Like, and Jean Grey will. That's how you know she's older. Like,
Yeah, I guess, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah, I noticed they used to do that a lot, and now, yeah, now with a lot of the artists, and then the way you could make the lighting and everything with the technology, you definitely could give a character more age than others.
oh,
But you have artists like
I think,
George Perez, where he knows what he's doing, and you check out just his sketch work, you'll know that one character is meant to look younger than another.
yeah.
Well, at least with his old work, I don't follow any of his newer stuff. I don't even know if
Yeah,
he does
I
anything.
haven't read too much of anything new from George Perez, but his old stuff was amazing.
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, you gotta have that, like, so you could know when one character's talking to the other. Sometimes you're like, why is he talking to this guy like a little kid? And you find out later that character is a little kid, but you wouldn't know from the art.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
that definitely.
and I think now too with books, colorists are coming on strong. You know, they're
Yeah,
getting more recognition now, I think, than they ever have. You know, all the time
yeah,
that I've been reading comics.
yeah. Coloring
So
is so important, but
colorists
now,
are easy. Jordy Belair, Matt Wilson. You know, these guys are just a couple that stand out for me. Um, Amazing stuff. They do amazing work, and they really add a tonality to the story. They add, it is part of the story, the coloring.
yeah,
You know.
I agree. The coloring is very important because it sets the tone of what you're going for.
Yeah.
You can
Afterlife
have.
with Archie, the coloring in that, I mean, basically it's black and orange, but
Mhm.
it's the way it's just the way that it's infused into the story that it almost helps to carry the story along page to page.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Also because I noticed you could have one artist and you could have the same artist and you have this colorist, they will give it a total cartoon, lighthearted, funny feel because the colors will be bright and not much shading or anything like that, and crisp lines and all that. Then you could have another colorist that gives it these dark tones, and then they have dark inks and different shades, and it gives it a and it could be the same artist, but the fact that it's a different colorist, it gives it a much more serious, realistic vibe.
Well, that's kind of what's going on with Daredevil right now, like the tone of that book shifted like a 180. Going from Wade and Sammy's run, it was bright and colorful and whatever, and the like just the tone and color of the current Daredevil, the one that Charles Soule is working on.
Mhm.
I only read that first issue in the shop. I didn't buy it, even though I do like Daredevil. He's one of my favorites. I just didn't like it. Just didn't work for me. It just seemed really heavy and negative.
Yeah,
So
well, I have a few Daredevils. I just haven't got around to reading them, so I wouldn't say I've never read. I could honestly say I never read a Daredevil comic in my life. Oh no, I read one. I read issue 8 with the from the Mark Waid run. That's the only Daredevil book I ever read. But I have Daredevil. I just haven't got around to reading them. And from what I know of him, I think he's supposed to be like a darker, more depressed character, isn't he?
he was. I mean that's his origins, right?
Yeah,
But
like it's supposed to be
it
a more
just
serious story.
yeah, it just I mean it's just that the flip. It's I don't know. I've read a lot of dark stuff with Daredevil in it, but
Mhm.
it felt different.
Mm.
Everything from Frank Miller to Kevin Smith, like to all the big names that have sort of worked on that character. And it was always, Hell's Kitchen is not a nice place,
Yeah,
and
it's
yeah,
like a Gotham.
it's like a
Yeah,
Gotham, but
yeah.
it didn't feel, I don't know, it didn't feel negative in the same way. I just didn't like how I didn't like how they put the book together for this new run on Daredevil. I don't know. That was just my own personal feeling of it. There might be obviously people who think differently and who loved it.
Do you think it had something to do, like, say this run right now with who you say this writer is?
Charles Soule, which
Charles Soules. Okay, do you
I
think?
was actually excited for it because I mean, his background is law, and you know, he wrote a really stunning run of She-Hulk, which not a lot of people read,
Mm,
and it was amazing. And so I thought, bringing Charles Soule into the fact that writing this book and Matt Murdock is a lawyer and all that, I thought it would be like a perfect fit, but
yeah,
it
that's what
didn't.
She-Hulk is, like a lawyer too, isn't she?
Yeah, yeah, and she was portrayed as being intelligent and funny and witty, and the biggest problem people had with that book was the art. It took a lot of people, including myself, like a couple of issues to get used to the way that the artist was drawing She-Hulk, because She-Hulk has always been drawn in a very sexualized manner, and she's always
Yeah,
been, that's
yeah,
just been
she's
a part
always
of how
been. Yeah, that's what I
it's
always
part of
thought
how
from her
she's
too.
been known, right? And here we had a writer who was giving her a lot of substance, for like intellectual substance, and then
Hmm.
we had an artist that was taking your eyes away from the obvious, like from the physical attributes, and
Yeah.
making you visually see She-Hulk in a different way. And I thought that was really cool. So
I want to ask you, do you think people think this new Daredevil, they you think they don't like it because they were reading the Mark Waid stuff that was so different?
I
You
think
think
that might have something to do with it. I
like
think a
say it
lot of
came? I was gonna say this issue came after like the Frank Miller run where it would still carry the same tone. You think they would have received it differently?
For me personally, I still think I would not have enjoyed it. Bendis and Malieve, their Daredevil was dark as well, and the art was very gritty. But I still wouldn't have liked what's going on right now, even if I had to read it back to back with one of the older runs. I think the sharp contrast of Wade's and Sammy's run being so colorful and so light. I think there was a lot of people that came into the character on Wade and Sammy's run who kind of discovered Daredevil, like people that were newer to comics, newer to that character. And then when the Netflix show came out, it kind of Daredevil just blew up, and then people. I don't know. Daredevil is in a weird position because not a lot of people knew about that character. There was always a group of people that followed that character for a long time and loved that character. Even his back issues, those back issues are still relatively cheap compared to like
He was always one of
Batman
those,
and
even like me when I was a kid, he was always one of those characters that not a B-lister and not an A-lister.
right.
He's like he's stuck in the middle
Exactly.
where like everybody knew who he
Yeah.
was and
Yep.
knew that he was blind and everything. They knew what he was about, but not a lot of people read him though.
No, and that character had some great stories told about him, and I think, like I said, I think Wade and Sammy's run was so bright and fun, and it was new reader friendly. People could just jump on board, and then this coming right after that, it's just a very very sharp contrast.
Yeah, it's a complete 360.
Yeah, it was very much so.
Yeah, that's interesting because I wonder, like, yeah, like sometimes when you read a book, even I haven't read it, so I don't know if it's good or not. But even if it's good, if it's different from that the run he had before or the writer that was doing it before, it can turn a lot of people off because like it is like something completely different, and even if it's good, they already have it in their head. I don't want it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
yeah, like I'm like that sometimes with characters that leave and then someone else takes their throne. It might be good, but I like to me it's kind of a turn off where I'm like do I really want to read that anymore? And it's really on a character by character basis. It depends on the character, I guess. Like they're doing that with Wolverine, and I don't mind it. like I'm kind of like I kind of want to know what the new female Wolverine is, and I kind of want to know more about her. So I don't mind that she's um donning the costume, I guess you could say.
I haven't heard anything negative really about it so far. It seems like the people that I've seen making videos and reviews and stuff seem to all be really enjoying the book.
Yeah.
So
I haven't read it, but I was really digging the covers, and I'll definitely get the trade just to see what they're doing with her. Cause my introduction to this X-23 was through the video game Marvel vs. Capcom, and she was one of the
right.
characters, and I was like, who's this? Like, it was a new character to me. So I really don't know anything about her, and that's somebody that piques my interest because I'm also a little biased because I'm into the X-Men universe. So anything there, I rarely see flaws in it, even if they're there. Like.
Yeah. Tim, are you?
Except the new stuff. I really don't like any of the new current. I tried reading some of the current Bendis stuff, or I think his run ended already. I tried
Yeah,
reading
it
some of
did.
the Bendis. I didn't like it. I was like, I'll stick to collecting my back issues of X-Men. But I felt like a lot of the characters were completely new. Like it was like a different team. It wasn't even the X-Men team I know. So I was like, I'll go.
That's that's what I heard. I mean, I'm not anywhere close to being as huge an X-Men fan as you guys, but I I listened to different podcasts and just different people that are in the community that love the X-Men, and not a lot of them had that much good to say about what
Yeah,
Bendis
yeah,
did.
yeah. I heard the new stuff is not that great. Also, sometimes like I was touching on it earlier. Sometimes I wonder if it's because you're like, well, if you're reading the new stuff and you're a long-time reader, you're like, it's more of the same, you know, like it might be more of the same. To me, a lot of it has to do with it's not the same characters. So I'm like, this is just a whole new team. If I want a new team, I'll read something else to find out about a new team, you know.
Yep. Yep.
What about you, Tim?
Well, I think part of the reason, like we're talking about Daredevil in particular,
Hmm.
the, I think part of the 180 thing was the reaction everybody had from the TV show. I mean, more people watched the TV show than read the comic books. And Marvel
Yeah,
felt that went, okay, this is the Daredevil everybody wants. We can't have what we had. We got to go this direction. And that kind of seems to be like a theme with the way comics are, like new stuff, particularly from the big two, is happening now.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. If a movie or something's popular, they try to change the book into what the movie was. Yeah, I
Right.
hear a lot of people that are more the long-time readers. they don't like this because it's messing with their comics. It's changing the whole personality or the style of what they were reading. And it's to bring in new readers. I get it because when they come in and read a book, they want it to be like what they just saw on TV. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
Right,
I think Tim, you brought up a really good point, and I think another example of that would be like Green Arrow.
right.
Um,
yeah,
I think Green Arrow kind of went through the same sort of situation. I didn't read any of the new 52, like the Green Arrow stuff that came out. I like my I like my old school Green Arrow with his little beard and everything, and you know what I mean. I wasn't feeling this new thing, and I think that's what happened. And I mean, eventually they just turned it to like it being about the TV series. Is that right? Or
No,
yeah. That's
that
what I heard. They have two titles. I think one is like the TV and one is like the regular Green Arrow. I think I'm not sure. I don't follow DC, so don't quote me. Don't
I mean,
quote me on any of this. I'm just you know
with
I'm just
the
saying out from what I hear. Like,
Fantastic- Marvel lost the rights to the Fantastic Four movie, so what did they do? They canceled the Fantastic Four.
yeah,
yeah. What do you think about that? Like,
I
I
think
know
that
they do it so they don't promote the movie, but I mean the movies are doing so bad. Does it matter if you keep Fantastic Four ongoing? Is it really
well,
gonna make a difference
long
whether they do good or bad in the movies?
and they canceled it just kind of arbitrarily. It just seemed like, okay, fine, I'm taking my toys back, just like a whiny
Yeah,
little.
yeah, like a little kid move, right? Like, like a little kid would do. Like, no, you can't play with this. Like, yeah, that's what it feels to me. Like a little tantrum type thing that they don't wanna make Fantastic Four comics because they didn't wanna let them use Galactus or something like that.
Right, right. They can't use the word mutant anymore, so they're all inhuman. It's that kind of thing.
right.
It's
Yeah, definitely. Like, I hate that they did that with X. I don't really follow Fantastic Four, so it was like whatever. But I hate that they did that with X-Men because I'm like, I hate to sound like a hater, but I know they want to replace them with Inhumans, and in the back of my mind, I'm just like, I hope they make this movie and it flops, so they could see X-Men cannot be replaced. Like, you know.
I mean, I get that it's all. It ultimately, it's the bottom line, and like you were saying earlier, you got to buy the new books because that's what's going to keep the business and company or the
Yeah,
company. Marvel doesn't give a crap about back issue sales. DC doesn't give a crap about back issue
yeah,
sales
that's more the shops.
that they're selling next week, not the one that they sold 10 years ago.
Yeah,
So
That's
because
right. Yeah.
whatever
if
they
the
have to
shop,
do
hmm?
to get those numbers up, they're going to do, and that's like what's happening with everything we just talked about, like the Daredevil and Green Arrow and all this. It's all
Yeah,
it's
definitely. Like if how you said, they don't care about the back issue sales because that's more like issue with the shops. Because if these 50 issues of this title didn't sell, the companies, Marvel, they don't care. We already sold them to the store, so we already got our sales. And
yeah,
now it's the shop's job to get rid of these issues. So it's their burden. They're
right.
concentrating on what's out this week. You know what I mean? Like the company's concentrating on what's out this week, what has to sell.
I
What
mean,
about you think they say unrealistic goals sometimes on sales wise, where they're like this book didn't sell what we wanted it to, so they give up on it too quick.
yeah, but then there's like the whole like what was it, Harley's Little Black Book, like the
Hmm.
black bag variant thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. That was I understand why they did it. It's like just to separate as much money from the fans as they can,
Oh,
but
for
Yeah,
it's
it's a
sure.
gimmick.
They're just milking that, like,
Yeah,
because
it's
they
a
know
gimmick to
that
get you to
Harley
buy.
Quinn has a huge she has a huge following. And it's predominantly, I would say it's predominantly, I mean, at cons you see that almost every girl is dressed up as Harley Quinn for
Yeah,
cosplay, but
it's
the predominant fans of that character, I think the hardcore ones are actually guys, right?
well,
And
think
they're
yeah,
the
so.
ones that
I
are
thought it
spending
was.
the money on like every variant cover and statues and
right.
Well, I think guys spend more money on it, on the character, but how you said on statues and so forth, and buying 10 copies of one issue with
yeah.
different variant covers. But I think she has a strong female audience.
I
How you
think
said,
I
and
think
cons and
Harley
everything.
Quinn.
Everybody, like the girls I talk to, they all love Harley Quinn.
I think they love the look of Harley Quinn physically. I think
Hmm.
it's that whole. It's sort of like that whole Halloween costume thing that girls run into. You know, we can be either the slutty nurse or the sexy cat. Like, it's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Harley Quinn is
It's
kind of like the slutty nurse. Like,
Yeah, like there's, you know what I mean? Like if you go to buy Halloween costumes, that's, you know, even the superheroes, they're even more sexually charged up Halloween costumes, and you know what I mean? Than the actual characters are themselves. And I
yeah,
think
like
a lot of women like Harley Quinn because she's cute, right? Like
yeah,
she's sort of a
she's a
it's
sexy
basically a
character,
cute
and
version of her, right?
it's also a costume that it won't be too difficult to make a Harley Quinn costume. And
No,
I find it like her costume when they dress up, it's sexy and it's not really showing any skin. You know what I
no,
mean?
that's
Like,
the thing. Like you can be sexy in that costume, and I think that's fine. I think every girl likes to feel like
yeah,
they
you
look
wanna
good.
feel, you want attention. Even
I
guys,
mean, I
you see
don't,
a girl
yeah, like
looking
I
at
think,
you, you feel, it feels good.
yeah, like I mean, I don't see any problem with girls cosplaying in whatever they want to cosplay in. I just, you know, in terms of like the comic books, I think that there's a larger male base that buys a lot of the merchandise for her. I mean, you
Yeah,
do, like I said, you see the girls dressing up like her at the cons and stuff, but you know, the people
the
I see who
dollars.
are actually buying Harley Quinn merchandise and supporting the comic, it's a lot of guys.
Yeah, I agree with the money is coming. I think the income whatever is the guy's pocket. But as far as just fans, like just fans, I think she has a lot of both. She has like a big
She
following.
does. I think the girls, I think a lot of women think she's just cute. Like she's like a, you know, she's sexy, she's cute, she's kind of fun. I like to me I have sort of a love-hate relationship with Harley Quinn.
Mhm.
Um I just her origin and how she was treated as a female in terms of just being she's pretty she's abused. I mean that's
Yeah, she's a needy character. She's a needy
she's
character that
an
needs
abused character, right? So
yeah, she needs approval from Joker all the time.
constantly it's constantly
Constantly,
seeking
like
male
yeah,
attention
it
and male
definitely was a bad image to put out there, like for girls to be reading like, oh look, the guy, you have to treat a guy this way, like he's God and you desperately need his approval. It's definitely a bad message, but I think it was there to show like this is a broken character, like
you
she.
know what, as many of the problems as I see with that character, I mean unfortunately, and this is the way that it is in real life, I mean there are a lot of women out there who stay in abusive
Oh,
relationships
definitely.
who I
If
mean
you ever watched
there's
I was gonna say I don't know if you
so
remember that show,
so she's
Cops.
a reflection of society. Like there are
Yeah,
people in society
yeah,
that,
definitely.
you know, I mean, and I don't know. Her character is interesting. I've
Yeah, I
looked at
think
her
her.
character from like a feminist point of view,
Mhm.
and I've looked at her character just as simply as a fictional character, and I don't know. She's interesting. Sometimes I love her and I think she's great, and other times I feel an immense amount of like sadness about that
Yeah,
character.
you said a good point there. I think now lately she's changed. Like she's a different character now. She's all like fun, and then in her other title, she's like the leader of the Suicide Squad or something. I don't
Yeah,
know. But
yeah.
she's changed over the years. But definitely early on, you made a good point. She was definitely like a metaphor for like women in abusive relationships.
Oh yeah.
It was
Yeah.
definitely like if you ever saw the show Cops back in the days,
Hmm.
constantly a lot of the calls, half of the shows had this in them. A girl gets beat up by her husband, calls the cops. The guy cries a little, I love you, baby, this and that. She forgives him. And the cop said, yeah, this is the 10th time we come here. It's the 10th time this guy's done this to her. And she still can't leave him. Like, she's still, begging him not to leave. Like, the guy will be, you called the cops after I did this to you? I'm leaving you. And then they go, no, I'm sorry. I want to drop the charges. And, like, and it's definitely, like, what Harley Quinn was early on. Like,
Yeah. The character definitely has had evolution for sure.
yeah,
Um, and I think her current comic, although I've dropped it and it's not really for
it's
me,
not, yeah, it wasn't good.
I think that it's still I think that it's a fun comic. There was like it was for me it was like almost every other issue was a good issue. You know, it would be like bad, good, bad, good. It would flip like that. And I just overall I wasn't getting the enjoyment out of it on a consistent basis that I should have been getting. but I
Yeah.
wanted to really give it a go, so I did it like I did read it up until I know probably into the 20s,
Hmm.
wherever close to wherever it's sitting now,
Hmm.
20s, 30s. I don't know where it's sitting at, but
I heard
40s,
Scott
40
Eggs.
something.
I don't know if you guys follow Scott Eggs. I heard him say this, and I agree with him 100%. I think that character completely changed with the success of the video game. Now they market her as what she is on the video game. And in the video game, she's not a needy character. She's like a badass. She's basically Batman's main villain in Arkham Asylum Part 1, 2. Like, you don't really see Joker come out as often as you see Harley Quinn. She's all over that video game and the whole story. And then she has a different suit. And after the success of the games, she carries that suit on the comics now. They changed her suit to the video game suit and her personality to the personality of the video game. So people like all these new people that are new to Batman or whatever, younger kids, their Harley Quinn is the one from the video game. They don't know about the cartoons in the 90s. They know the video game from the 2000s, the kids that are, 15, 18.
Yeah.
And I think that did so much for that character. It changed it, I think it made it kind of gave her more depth. And it also,
Hmm.
gave her a new costume, gave her more popularity. It did a lot for her. She wasn't as popular before these games came out.
No, I think there was a lot of Batman fans that really liked the character from back in the day. But you're right. I think the video games and with this new movie coming out, I think they've really revamped her a lot.
Hmm.
And I think they're definitely, like I said, there's been an evolution I think for the positive with that character.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree. I like what she had before. It was good to put that out there because this does exist in the world, and I like when comics do that. You might not like it, you think it's something
Hmm.
negative, but it's a whole universe, so you have to show what's out there in the real world, not pick and choose what's
Yeah,
convenient. Like this does
there.
exist. You know what I
You're
mean? Like
right. There
this
is
was out there.
inequality. There is all that stuff, and yeah, it does have to be reflected at times in storytelling. Um, you know, and they have made steps to change her
Yeah,
and sort of bring her more into her own, as opposed to just being kind of like mindless
yeah. I
and
think I think
just
she
Joker's
got
plaything.
yeah. It's because I think she got like too popular and she has too much of an influence now that she can't be just a victim. She has to be something more. Like
Yeah.
that's more something you do with a side character, and she's no longer a side character. She's like a main character,
Hmm.
top character now. Definitely, I agree with that. But I like that. I like when comics, touch on reality on subjects that exist, and like I think there was a Green Lantern issue that touches on racism, and it's not what it used to be back in the '60s or whatever, but it's out there, and someone might get offended with the content on the book, but it's like it's real shit that happens, and it should be there because in their universe it should also exist if it exists in ours. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, art and life. I mean, art reflects life, right?
yeah, it should. It should. It should.
And
The best
comic
art is the art
books.
that reflects, how you said, the best art is the art that reflects on real life.
Yeah, and comics have always, like I've said this before in my videos, where comics have been an art form that has been used as for satire for years and decades, and this is how people spoke about politics. This is how they commented on politics or commented on social issues that were going on at that time. They did it through cartoons and comic books and little
Yeah,
cartoons
yeah,
that were
definitely.
animated.
If a writer of a book is there and he feels this way about Donald Trump or whatever, and his job is writing comics and he wants to write a story and not use Trump's name but use a character that reflects him or whatever, he's just letting his thoughts and emotions reflect onto his work, which I
Yep,
like. It feels more real,
it
more,
does.
like with movies, for example. Most of my favorite movies are somewhat based on true stories because the best of stories are the ones you can't write. They just write themselves.
Right. And that's why I think, I mean, I don't know, maybe Tim could speak to this too. I mean, this is the reason I like a lot of underground comics and alternative comics, is because when I first became aware of these types of comics, like this was in the early 90s for me, they were talking about real life stuff. whereas Marvel and DC were still, it was that heavy superhero genre, and it was like a completely different animal. Whereas the indie comics that I kind of grew up with, if you will, they were talking about relationships.
Hmm.
They were talking about, stuff like AIDS, like in Pedro and Me.
Hmm.
That care that guy who was in the real world. Um, Pedro and Me was written by Judd Winnick, and it was all about his friendship with one of the cast members who was a gay character in, well, he was a gay guy in the character in the comic book, and in this graphic novel, he depicted this gentleman's life and what happened. And I had never read comics before. When I found indie comics, like everything I read was all superhero based. And when I came into the 90s, when I started reading underground comics and I started reading like indie comics, I was like, oh my God, you can talk. People are talking about everything in comics. It doesn't have to just be Superman and Batman and Spider-Man and whatever, you know? They,
Let me
these are
check
just
some of the.
real people.
Yeah.
Okay, let me check some of the. Who we got here? John Paul. Problem with Harley Quinn and her popularity is that she'll constantly be under scrutiny. I agree. She'll always have people. I think that's with every character though. They'll constantly you'll have people that like the character, people that don't. You always have you can't please 100% of the fan all the time of the fans. Hey, what guy like what character is that you would consider your favorite that makes you want to buy comics?
Tim, maybe you should go first. I have to think
Yeah,
about
Yeah.
yeah,
I
go
mean,
for Tim.
there's I mean, at this point, really, I'm kind of done with the big two. So I'm following like talent that I like. So it's more
Okay,
from,
all right. So you follow more writers or artists or
yeah. It's like what's Garth Ennis's new book? What's Jonathan Hickman's new book? What's this guy's new book? Who's
okay.
what's Sean Murphy drawn this month? That kind of thing. It's kind of depressing, but you read the same thing for 20 years, and it's eventually they're going to repeat the same. I
Yeah,
want
yeah. How they say, oh, well, this story repeated itself back in '82. It's like, yeah, so it's a repeat to you, but to a lot of other readers, you're right. Like, if you're a long-time reader, it's eventually gonna, come back full circle. Like
right,
movies, like
right,
movies you watch. Oh, well, I watched The Hills Have Eyes back in '85. Yeah, but it's new to the people in 2000 when the remake came out. Like
yeah,
it's one of those things.
right,
Yeah, definitely. Me, like now as an older male, when I got back into comics, I still wanted stuff I remember from my youth. So I followed X-Men, Batman, stuff I remember reading. And it's like I never read the following issue. I never finished this run. So I went to get a lot of that. That's why I get a lot of back issues and so forth. And with current comics, when I started reading current comics, I was like, I don't like this because it's either different or it's the same from what the oldest. So I'd rather just read the old ones, like. So yeah, it's how you said, it's a tricky thing. So I also like as an older person now, like I'm not a teenager or whatever. I like a lot of the indie stuff because every story is different and fresh to me. It's not like another Wolverine story, another Batman. It's like Batman's the closest to keeping stuff fresh all the time to me. Outside of him, all other characters is like let me see what Image is doing. Let me see what Dark Horse is doing. I want something different.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like movies with Avengers and all that. After part four or part five, you're gonna say it's more of the same, and you're gonna get tired of them. You're gonna want to see a new character.
that's true. I'm not saying that
Yeah,
there's
like
another great
so
Batman story or Wolverine story or whatever. It's just there's I think I've read my favorite Wolverine story, so everything is going to pale in comparison to that, just from the nostalgia standpoint.
yeah, definitely. What about as a kid, Tim? You had like a character in your younger days that really got you started with comics.
Wolverine.
Wolverine. Yeah, I was a big Wolverine fan too because of the X-Men. What is it you liked about the character? Like what was there a story, his costume, or you know
No, I mean
stuff he said?
I read the X Men and I read West Coast Avengers, and it was completely different thing. It was like the West Coast Avengers were the jocks, and the X-Men were the kids that like smoked cigarettes under the bleachers in the gym. You know,
All
it was
right. Yeah, yeah, definitely. You need a little bit of everything.
yeah. So, and they didn't take any shit, and that was kind of cool. You know, it was a rebellious without actually being rebellious kind of thing. I don't know. I just dug it, and I have a like a 500 issue run of the X-Men, and I've read it all. And
All right.
the stuff that I grew up with is still like my favorite stuff. You know, like Josh Whedon had an okay run on the X-Men. That was it was fun, but you go back to like the Claremont John Byrne and Claremont and
Yeah,
Mark Silvestri.
that's
That's
definitely the, yeah. I agree. That's my
that's
favorite X-Men stuff. That's the stuff. It's so much more to me when I read a Chris Claremont and John, like not necessarily. I like John Byrne stuff, but I grew up with the Jim Lee stuff. But I like the John Byrne
yeah,
stuff a lot too. I think that's what really blew up the X-Men and made gave them that popularity with the John Byrne run,
yeah,
Claremont. But yeah, when I read that, it like I love the books to start with, and a lot of it is also every time I read a issue or I pick up a single or a trade and I read the reprint, it's like I remember reading when I read it for the first time. Like it takes me back, you know, like I remember when I was 8 when I bought this book. Like when it first, I remember when it was on the shelves, you know, like it does more than just it's more than just comics to me. It's like a part of my life, like of my childhood. Like I remember all this.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and then you know you start thinking of the cartoons that were out back then, and definitely also yeah, definitely like to me Wolverine was a stand-up character there. Of course, like he was I like the way he was supposedly a badass, but you always see he's looking out for like Kitty Pryde or looking out for
he only
Jubilee.
had
So
one
he's
person.
putting this front where he's like, I don't care about anybody, F you. But then he's really like, are you okay? And he's making sure he's not hurting Jubilee's feelings or Kitty or when he was with Kitty Pryde, like you know, he's
I
kind of
don't.
like a father figure where he's gonna chew you out, but he does care about you at the same time.
Yeah, yeah,
I always found him very interesting. Then how he never knew like a lot about his life. Like he doesn't know much about his own life because all his memories were erased and so forth. I always found him like very interesting. What about you, Cammy? You had a character that really got you into comics, and you felt like you were always excited to see to find out something new about this character.
I guess for me that would probably be Wonder Woman. Um, I think she had a lot. I mean, she had a lot of great stuff going up to the New 52. I think the New 52 just killed her. I mean, it's just not. I know this is like me beating the same dead horse like over and over again, but it's just honestly from a perspective of a fan, what they did, the changes they made to her were huge, and that's why I think I have a little bit of forgiveness there for the Finches
Hmm.
because they weren't. While I can appreciate Azzarello's run as a writer, I can respect his storytelling.
Hmm.
I just don't like what DC did to that character in terms of her origin story being redone and rebooted and just basically wiped. And then to go forward from there, it's really difficult because they've got to build up a whole new canon for her almost.
Yeah,
And prior to the New 52, like I always push people to the older stuff because that's where all the gems are. That's
that's
where
what
all the
like
good
yeah.
stories are. The art, the stories, everything. It was all that time before. I mean, so for me, it was Wonder Woman. Like like I said, I Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. Like I loved it. You used to do the spin in my living room, and my sister and I used to play games pretending to be different superheroes or whatever, and Wonder Woman had to always be there. Sometimes we'd mash up like Wonder Woman and Star Wars or Super Friends and Star Wars and things like that. But yeah, for me, no doubt it's Wonder Woman.
All
That's
right,
what got me
yeah.
into it.
I never I don't really read Wonder Woman, but I have bought the omnibus.
Oh yeah.
So it covers the first like 30 issues, and I'm gonna read that sooner or later. But I got it because I do want to know more about her, and I hear there's a second one coming out, so I'll be getting that for sure too.
That's
Also,
awesome.
I like Perez's art, so even no matter how the story is, I'm gonna like it just for the art.
Oh,
But
everything
but
about
I
it's
hear it's
good.
a, yeah, I heard his is a good run, so I thought
Oh
that
yeah, for
it'd be a
sure.
good place to start. Also, what really,
Rucka's run was great. Gail Simone run, like in terms of more modern runs that people might be interested in,
Mhm.
those two writers, they really had a lot of understanding of the character, and they told some really good modern Wonder Woman stories, which was it was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Also, she has from what I know, she has like a Greek mythology type background to her.
She does, and that's what Azzarello played up on, right? Is on he went to that expanded mythology, that pantheon of Greek mythology characters, right? And that's what I found kind of also to be an issue with that run was that Wonder Woman was not necessarily the star. She was more of a co-star, and some of the other characters that he wrote, some of the other gods that he wrote were very strong, and they had a lot of voice, and they had a lot of prominence, and it didn't feel like a Wonder Woman book. It just felt different. I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah, just
she
for
was
like
not
it's
the star
about
of her own show for sure.
yeah, for like I get what you're saying. Like it was more a story about all the gods or that universe in
Yeah,
general, not necessarily the
right. And
character.
even the human character Zola that was in it, like it was more about other people than it was about her.
Mm.
And you know, you don't really see that in a like Batman has a very strong supporting cast. He has a very strong one of the best rogues galleries in comics probably, and
Yeah, probably I in my
you
opinion,
don't ever feel like Batman is not a part of his show. Even
no,
in Batman and Robin Eternal, all the Robins are at play in that book, but Batman is always there. Like
yeah,
he's never
because he's
not
such a
present.
yeah, he's just one of those like characters where if he makes an appearance on a crossover on a Robin title, you're gonna notice Batman more than you're gonna notice Robin. You
Oh
know what I
yeah, no,
mean? Like,
Bruce Wayne or Batman, whichever whoever's showing up for that issue, that character's there, and
yeah,
and that's the thing about Batman, right? He's present in his books,
he just
even
has
even in
such
the
a
main
strong.
Batman storyline, where like we have the Bat Bunny, whatever. It's Gotham Police, but still Batman is Bruce Wayne is still there.
Yeah,
He hasn't like left the book. We don't know where he is.
yeah, he just won because he like how they say he cast this such a big shadow.
Right.
Like you put him in a art panel or two panels, three panels, and he says nothing, but he's just on the panel, and the other characters have dialogue, they're speaking. You're gonna notice him more.
Right. There's that respect for the character, whereas like with
Yeah,
Wonder Woman, you didn't have that. Like she was to me,
I
she
think
felt overshadowed in her
I
book,
yeah I
and
think
she
very
shouldn't
few
have been.
characters.
She's right up there with one of the big three in DC, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
So
yeah, she's up there. She's
Superman is
definitely
a headliner in his books. Batman is a headliner in his book, and Wonder Woman should be the headliner in her book. But in my opinion, which is a minority opinion, um, she just wasn't. And I know that probably rubs people the wrong way, but I got to say what I got to say about that.
yeah. I haven't read it, so I don't know. And I know how you said you don't like the new the where it's going right now with the new artist, with the new writer and everything, and the new artist. But I think yeah, how you said because you're such a big fan, you follow all her stuff.
It
So
feels
to
weird
you,
not
it's
to
like
have a Wonder Woman book on my pull list, and it's still not even on my pull list. I know the books are going to sit there on the shelf, which makes me sad inside. Um, you know, the books are going to sit there, and the only reason that she even has any lasting power is for her namesake. I mean, if she was a newer character,
she
but
wouldn't make it.
she would have been gone, or she would have been, she's solely living on her name, you know. Right now, the actual story isn't doing anything to help her. So,
Oh,
you
we have
know,
Kevin here. Let me see what he put. He put, why do we love comics? Why? I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question.
it's paper craft.
Yeah, I mean, they're like movies. You know, you get all your stories from movies. I mean, you get all your movies, the stories and your movies from books, either whether they be novels or graphic novels. They come from here first. If it hits, it sells. Then you throw the money into making a big budget movie about it. But that's definitely where it all starts. It's through books. If it's a top selling book, top selling
Well,
comic.
I'm hoping that happens with Wonder Woman. That when Batman versus Superman comes out, and when Wonder Woman's movie comes out in the next couple of years, I'm hoping that it's going to boost sales for
Yeah,
her
yeah.
because she deserves it. She needs the support for sure.
Oh, hey, Tim,
Yeah,
what do you think about the trailer? There, have you watched it?
yeah. It was. I mean, I have this theory about how it always ends up with guys running around with guns. Like
Yeah.
regardless of what it is, the ultimate conclusion will involve a bunch of guys running around with guns. Fun,
But why you got superheroes?
where does Batman have a gun? But whatever. It is what it is. I'll probably go see it. I like his movies, Zack
Yeah, no,
Snyder.
I'll see it for sure. But I was just curious, what you think about the trailer in general?
You mean like the whole Doomsday looks like one of the Ninja
Like
Turtles?
did this help build your excitement, or you were already gonna see it anyways? You were just as excited, or
No, I'm one way or the other. I was on the what the hell are they thinking with Ben Affleck Batman team. I I don't really get that decision, but it's not my decision to make. But I don't know. It is what it is. I'm aware of the existence of these characters, but I'm not really that big of a fan, so it doesn't really affect me. It's like my Batman is the animated cartoon, and uh,
yeah, they did such a good job of portraying his
like how
style,
much,
his vibe in the cartoon.
yeah,
It was so like spot on.
yeah. But it's
What do you think about Doom?
Doomsday.
Yeah, what do you think about his appearance in the movie when they showed him?
Whatever. It's
Yeah, I
like
thought it was. It didn't look exactly like in the comic. I was hoping he looked a little different.
right.
But I mean, he still looked cool. He didn't look bad, but he didn't
Huh?
look like what I was expecting.
Right.
Like it's kind of like Abomination on the Hulk movie.
Right.
I I I didn't mind the way he looked, but I wish he would have had those ears. Like that's such a big part of Abomination. Those fin things he has. I wish they
Yeah.
would have added that to that character on the movie.
Yeah. But
What
it's
about you, Camille? What you think about the trailer?
Uh, Trailer it was cool. It was entertaining for sure. I tend to agree with Tim. Um, I don't know. Like I'm stoked to see the movie. I'll see it.
Hmm.
But like I said, I'm not a huge like comic book movie person.
Hmm.
So I'm probably the wrong person to ask about that. I mean, it's entertaining, and I'll go. There's like a couple of my friends that really want to go, so I'll go for sure.
Hmm.
But I'm actually I'm more stoked to see Star Wars than I am to see
To see
Batman.
Batman.
Yeah,
So you're a Star Wars geek.
yeah. Well, yeah. Until Disney came and bought it over and ruined everything. But yeah, yeah. You
but
see, that
but
was a franchise that I mean,
we're gonna get like
had years of continuity in novels, in comic books, in video games, in role playing games, and it was amazing. And the movies, and it was amazing that for so many years that much continuity with different hands in the pot could keep it intact. Meanwhile, continuity in comic books like in Marvel DC, forget it. Like it changes all like for no reason.
Like
yeah,
my yeah, because it's a bought license, and
Yeah.
anytime you use a licensed product, it's disaster. Like it never like
Well, it's just the Star Wars expanded universe. I mean, they threw after Marvel. I mean, sorry, after Disney bought it, they just threw everything out that wasn't. They just want their name on it. They
yeah.
want obviously complete control over it. But they threw out like the baby with the bathwater because there was those novels that I'm reading now. Like they're fantastic, and you hear about these characters, but these different novelists they just took it and ran with it, and they created parts of the story that weren't there, and it just filled in the gaps so nicely. And it's sad actually. So It
Yeah,
sucks. Disney sucks.
I I
I'm not
think
like a
Disney.
hater, but Disney sucks.
I like what Disney does, but I don't like what they did. Like, did they do the last three that came out?
No.
No, you mean like
The
the
Attack of the
prequels?
Clones and
No.
the ones that came out in like 2000.
No,
No.
no. I think Clones and stuff was still part of Lucas. I think.
Yeah, that I think now that it's with Disney, because Disney for the most part brings out good products. I like what they do with their cartoon movies, their animated films, and their real life films as well.
Hmm.
So I'm
When
confident it's
Disney's
gonna be a
doing
good movie because Disney rarely makes something that flops.
Yeah, like when Disney does Disney, they do it extremely well. Like I mean, their own property, what they created, like
Mhm.
the like the fairy tale stuff and some of the other movies that have come out in recent
Yeah,
times,
like they
like
made.
the
You ever watch that movie back in the '90s? It's a prison movie. Blood in, Blood Out.
Disney did that.
Yeah, they Disney did that. I didn't even know that, and I was like, that's one of my favorite movies. And I'm like,
Blood
wow.
in,
So
Blood out,
that
like from back in the day,
yeah, from back in like '92 or something like that.
with like the gangs.
Yeah, I was
Disney
like,
did that movie. Oh my God,
yes, I thought it's really,
I'm shocked.
they do also like what's that
I
football
love
movie?
that movie.
Yeah, I love that movie. It's like it's a great movie, and
Yeah,
it's loosely
I would
based on
not
real
take
stuff.
Disney.
Also, like
Sounds like
remember
Disney doing a Punisher movie or something, right?
that?
Like
I
a
would
really
punish it in prison right
violent
there.
Punisher movie.
Like you ever seen Remember the Titans, that football movie?
Yeah, see, they did movies like that. They do like sports movies or
They do like so much different stuff. Just
yeah,
that.
like those type of stuff. I agree, they do a good job with it. It's just the my cynical, jaded, bitter side just doesn't like the greed of it all.
Yeah, like that's why when they went back to Disney films, I was kind of I go, what's a Disney movie? I go, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be good because they do their research and they do the research before they bring out a product. That's why Marvel's so successful because they
Yeah,
don't try to
they
take it
saved
and say we're
Marvel's
making our
ass.
own thing. They don't say we're
Yeah,
gonna make it how we want to. They say, okay, Marvel, you guys know the characters better than us. What do we do here? Like they let other companies run the show and they just put the money. They invest their money, but they don't get involved.
well, yeah, I mean,
Companies like
Marvel.
we're gonna get involved.
If it wasn't for the comic book movies, I think, I don't know what to say how the industry would be. I hate saying that, but I mean, I do think the movies have really done something for it, for the
Yeah, I
industry.
think they definitely brought interest back in these characters.
Oh, for sure. That's
Like
for sure. Which is a good positive thing, right? So,
yeah, because like I was telling you like studios like Fox where they buy licensed product like somebody else's stuff, then they want to change it to their own thing. They're like, well, this character should be this way. No, we want them to be this way. But when you bring out a cartoon, a lot of times the TV station says, well, we don't want it to be like the comic. We want to put our ideas in there, and their ideas could be something totally different than what the character is. It's the
yeah.
same with movies, and I think Marvel did a good job deciding to go with Disney, because Disney is one of those companies that says, you know the character better than us. You followed them 50 years. We haven't. You tell us what should we do, and we do it, and we just put our money in there, and it's successful because they let somebody that has more knowledge of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's always better because don't pretend to know like when somebody pretends to know or wants to say they know more about a certain thing than the person that created it, you're always gonna be wrong. Like how are you gonna know more than that person? They created that.
That's kind of with the Star Wars thing where, I mean, George Lucas is out at this point, and to my knowledge, and if I'm wrong, then feel free anyone to please correct me. But to my knowledge, there wasn't supposed to be another three movies. He wrote 1 to 6.
Yeah,
So everything like 7 to 9 is going to be what Disney is
yeah,
creating, right?
yeah,
So like all that's why all the characters are new and
yeah. It's
nobody
all new
really knows
characters, new
anything
villains.
about them because I mean, mind you, they would have cherry picked from that expanded universe. They probably would have looked at certain characters and gone, okay, this might be an interesting character. Let's pull from that character from the old universe into our new universe.
Right.
So though I'm excited to see the movie because I want to see what they're going to do with it. And I mean, obviously they have like Han Solo and like the original people in there because it's a draw, right? Everybody wanted to see those characters back.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. That's what they're there for. They're not gonna be a big part of the story.
No, no, it. You won't see them, I don't think, going past this movie.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I doubt it. But you're right. Like, I don't carry the same feeling for Star Wars because to me, my first introduction into Star Wars was those movies from the 2000s, and I thought I really didn't like them. I thought they were kind of sorry. I was like, like
the
I saw
prequel,
them, and I was like, this is
the
Star
Jar
Wars.
Jar
Like
Binks era, yeah.
this is what, yeah, like this is what people this is the big deal. Like to me, it was like overhyped, and I had no interest in them. Then like
And
my
what's
cousin,
funny
he's a
about
little older than me. He's like 10 years older than me, and he was telling me about nah, check these out. He has like the box set of the old ones.
oh yeah,
I instantly like that became
the original three, yeah,
yeah. Once I saw the original three, like that, I was like, I love Han Solo.
yeah. Han
Like
Solo's a
hands down,
badass.
I was like, I'm loving this shit. I love
Yeah.
Han Solo, and even like Darth Vader had this presence every time he showed up,
Oh
and I
my
was like,
God.
wow. I go, even though these movies are like 30 years before these new ones, I go, they're so much better,
Yeah.
like so much better than these new ones.
Well, the novels that I'm reading, like, my God, like they're so amazing. Like the characters are so amazing, you know, I think about those first three movies that you're talking about. Yeah, and Revenge of the Sith, they did a novelization of it, and the book is better than that
Hey,
movie.
what's up, Don? Got Don right here. Yeah, we're talking about the Star Wars movie coming out, and what do you think happened with the other movies? Sorry to interrupt you, Camille. And what were we
Yeah.
saying?
No, 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 that's okay. No, I was just saying, yeah, like you know, the first three, the prequels were, I mean, nothing to really get excited about. But that last movie, like Revenge of the Sith, there was a novelization made of that, and it was better than the movie. That guy
Yeah.
wrote a better story.
All right. Yeah, I haven't read those novels, but yeah, you
No,
made a
they're
when we were
quick
talking
reads, but
about Revenge of the Sith, that guy Sith Lord, was it with the red face paint?
oh, you're talking about like um,
Darth Maul.
yeah,
Oh
Darth
yeah, there
Maul.
you go, Tim. Yeah, Darth
Thank
Maul.
you.
When I saw him, and remind you, I saw these movies first, then I saw the other one. And then when I saw Darth Vader, it's like he carried so much more weight to him. Like you just knew he was somebody important, and Darth Maul was he didn't do it for me as a villain, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
Darth Maul is not really up to the standard. It compares to like if you read about like Darth Revan and Darth Bane and Darth Plagueis. These guys are badasses, even more so than Darth Vader.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah. I gotta pick up some. I was on the fence about getting those Star Wars omnibus. So maybe I'll pick up the.
the
I
comics
think they
are
have
good.
Epic collections. I
The
might
Dark
get some
Horse
of those
stuff.
just to read up on some of the stuff.
Yeah, the
But yeah,
Dark
like
Horse
oh
stuff is cool.
I'll be,
man, what happened, Tim?
I'll be right back.
Okay, I was gonna say, man, that Darth Vader. When I was watching Star Wars, Darth Vader was to me like the ultimate villain. Then at the end, he does something to be a good guy, to be nice. I was like, oh, so he's not total evil, you know? I was
Yeah,
like, oh, and oh, what about when you find out he's this whole time he was Luke Skywalker's dad?
yeah, that blew everybody's
I was
mind back
like,
then.
I love plot twists in a movie. Like when
Yeah.
I see something that you're like, whoa, I did not see that coming.
Well, for that time frame when the movie came out, yeah, that was a big huge deal for sure.
Even for me, when I saw it like in maybe 2003 was the first time I saw those movies, the old Star Wars ones.
Wow,
And,
I'm so envious. I wish I could see them for the first time again. Like that'd be amazing.
yeah, and the good
Um,
thing is, you know what? Another thing, um, I don't talk to anybody that talks Star Wars, so I never had any spoilers or like I didn't walk in there
yeah,
like, oh, I know this or I know that. I didn't have
wow,
any of that, so it was all
I'm
like
really
damn,
envious.
for the first time, like it just came out.
So you went in there with like baby eyes. You'd never. It's not been tainted for you. You just got to watch it. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have it explained to me before it came out, and because that does affect your initial reaction. Like
Yep.
you might have been so excited for something, then when somebody tells you and you walk into it kind of knowing already what's gonna happen, it's not the same.
No, it's not. The same thing is when you read comics. Like if somebody recommends a book to you and all they say is just read the book and they hand it to you, it
Hmm.
it's amazing because you don't they haven't told you anything about it. That's how
Yeah.
I discovered Invincible. Somebody said to me, all he said to me was, "You need to read this, Kemi," and I was like, "Okay." And then I read the first trade, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing."
Yeah,
You know,
definitely. Like
like I love it. I think Kirkman did an amazing job with just manipulating the superhero genre. And if you've not read Invincible, you should definitely check it out.
yeah. I heard of Invincible, but I haven't read it.
It's
Do you guys
I
watch
loved it.
Supergirl?
I haven't seen one episode actually, unfortunately.
No. I wanted to talk about, it, but I don't want to spoil this for you because I want you to be as surprised as I was yesterday. I watched
It,
this yesterday. It came out on Monday, but I saw it early yesterday on the internet. I watched
yeah.
the episode, so forget it. I'm gonna skip it because I want you to watch
So in other words,
that.
you're telling me I should watch Supergirl for sure.
Watch Supergirl. Watch Supergirl. Something happened, and I was a big fan of this character. Some people didn't like him. They didn't like the whole aspect, but I liked it. I was like, I like this character.
I
And then
haven't heard
people
too
like it
many
because
people talk about Supergirl. Like when Daredevil came out, everybody was talking about Daredevil. You know,
oh, this is so much
um,
better. I was
even
really not.
even Jessica Jones, everybody was talking about it,
Jessica Jones was
no,
good.
but
Jessica Jones was
nobody's really
good.
saying anything about Supergirl.
Yeah, I haven't watched the last two episodes of Jessica Jones, but Jessica Jones was good, and Supergirl's pretty good too. But Daredevil, I was like,
Really? You
it was
didn't
okay.
really?
It didn't suck, but it wasn't great.
I thought it was actually pretty well done. I enjoyed it quite a bit, considering I'm not into that whole that side of it. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it more than I thought I would. That's for sure.
I thought it was like
I
if I had to
binge
rate it
watched all of it, so
if I rate it from 1 to 10, I'll give it like a 7, a
wow.
7.5. Like it was average to me. I like Kingpin. I really like a lot of it had to do because a lot of the acting I thought wasn't great. Like I really love Kingpin. I thought you could tell when you see his scenes, he's an
Oh
established
yeah,
actor. He
he
knows what
nailed.
he's doing, and like you believe what he's telling you.
You believe that's
Some of
Kingpin?
these
He
other
nailed
characters,
it.
it was
Yeah.
yeah, it was like you could tell it was an act. Like it was like.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah, he
Daredevil
nailed
was
it. He
great.
nailed it for sure.
What you think about the Daredevil series 10?
I loved it until he put the costume on, and then I kind of like, oh Jesus.
Yeah,
But other than that,
exactly. That
Yeah, I haven't even seen the last episode where he gets that red suit. I haven't seen that one yet. But
that's
yeah, it
kind
was
of like
so
one of
far.
the.
I really didn't like it at all. I was gonna stop watching it until Kingpin came out, and I really like his character. I thought if I walked away with anything from this season was I thought they really developed Kingpin, where you know why he's an asshole, why he's the way he is. Like he's been through shit in his life. Like he's also been a victim before, and he's in this mindset where I'm never gonna be in that position again, you know? Like I'm in a position of power now. Like so he built himself up to be someone important when he grew up. I like all that, and it shows he has feelings. He loves this girl. Like he's not just this evil bastard. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
that's the best kind of storytelling, right? When you
yeah,
have characters that are gray. Um, one of the things that superhero genre storytelling always gets criticized for this, right? Because you have your ultimate good and your ultimate bad. But
yeah,
the best stories are told when good characters are everybody's like a little bit gray.
yeah. The
Good
gray
and
shades
bad
is like
in everybody. Your
that's one.
anti-heroes are cool for that reason, right? Like,
Yeah,
Game of Thrones is like the perfect example of that. All the characters in there, I mean, they've done some shitty things, but yet they've done
yeah.
some amazing
Game of
redeeming
Thrones. I
things.
love Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that show
Because
because there's
nobody is like ultimately, well, maybe Joffrey was ultimately bad and whatever,
the
but
quote bracket.
more, yeah, him
Oh,
and
I
Ramsay
hate him
Bolton
so
are
much.
pretty bad, but yeah, like other than that though, like those characters have a lot of gray to them, and they got
Yeah,
a lot of substance, and you see why they do the things that they do.
yeah.
What their motivation is.
Yeah, you know what I like about that show is they have like three different kingdoms. That's why it's like Game of Thrones, like game between game of chess between the kings who everybody
Yeah,
wants to rule, and nobody is. They never put it out there. This is the kingdom you're rooting for, or this is the kingdom you're. It's like you're free to choose. If you're rooting for this one, everybody else is a villain. You know what I mean? If you're
yeah,
rooting for this one, everybody else is a villain. So it's like you get to choose yourself who you think is in the wrong or the right.
Well,
So
that's
if
why
you're in the
Kingpin
right,
was so.
if you're for that kingdom, then those persons are in the right, and those are the good guys. Like
Well,
they
that's
don't
why
point out
Kingpin
who
was
you're
such a
supposed to root
compelling
for.
character.
Yeah, they don't point out who you're supposed to root for. It. You're free to decide. Like in real world, you might do something I do. Somebody might think is bad. Somebody else might think is good, depending on what side of that certain thing I just did you're on. You know what I mean?
Right. You're bringing your personal perspective to it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like somebody's doing something bad and I call the cops. The person that's doing something bad is like he's an asshole, he's a bad guy, he snitched on me. The person I just helped us, he's good, he helped me out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it all depends on what side of you, what view you have, what point of view you're at.
Yeah.
That's what I like about Game of Thrones. It's like just real life situations and this kingdom at those times going on,
Hmm.
and they never point out which one's the kingdom that's the main character. Like you're just free to choose whatever
Yeah.
you want.
Right. And that's the thing with like characters like Kingpin in the Daredevil series is, he had the writers showed that those two sides of a coin. So as much as he did despicable things, you also saw, like you said, where he also was a victim, and
Yeah,
what his motivation was for doing what he's done.
yeah,
And even the way he felt about his lady, it's because of how he grew up, and the love that maybe he was missing, or how his mother was treated, like just different things, right?
yeah, yeah. I like that, and that's why like
Complexity of character, right?
yeah, like Magneto's one of my favorite characters for that same reason, cause
Yeah.
he experienced like a lot of racism, like he was Jewish and Nazis hated him. And once this
Yeah.
whole war thing was over, he's still going through the same shit because he's a mutant. So it's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's like, because I'm Jewish, not because it's like,
It's
if you
hard to,
think about it,
it's hard to hate Magneto.
yeah,
Magneto's
if you really think
awesome.
about it, he's not just evil for the sense of being evil. Like, he has reasons for this shit. You know
He
what I mean?
believes
Like,
in he believes in his cause,
yeah, like the
right?
way I see it, he's only defending himself against people that hate him anyways. You know
Hmm.
what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I like characters like that. They
sympathetic
have
victim.
depth to them. They have the reasons for doing what they do, and when you think about it, they're not all bad. Like Sopranos, they're mobsters, whatever. They do bad shit, but they carry normal lives, and they do good things too. Like it's instead of like say Joker. I like Joker, but he's just pure evil. He does nothing good. Like he's a character that he wouldn't be able to carry his own title. You know, I think there's not enough depth there. Like what makes Joker, he has to have a Batman to be successful, and Batman doesn't necessarily have to have a Joker. If that makes sense. Like, hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, what about you, Tim? And what kind of characters you like to root for?
I've always been like an underdog kind of guy. It, you have the people that are just infallible, right? And that just kind of gets boring. Because
Yeah, like Superman. He's never outgunned.
right,
He always brings more
right,
to the table than the guy he's fighting.
right. So that's no thanks. I'm good on that. It's
Yeah,
it's all like a mock struggle, really. There's no at that point. I don't know.
yeah. He's never. Yeah, I know what you're saying with the underdogs. Like, I think they do a good job with Batman. That's why he's so successful because he touches on so many different things. Like, in all his fights, he's usually losing. He'll end up in the hospital, and then he'll redeem himself and come back stronger. But
Right,
when
but
he's gonna win, he will lose, and then he'll win next time. Like,
that's his thing. So even if he does get beat, right? You know he's
mhm.
going to come back and whip Bane's ass
Yeah, yeah, they always,
because that's he's back.
yeah, he's Batman. He's not
It's
gonna lose.
kind of the
But
same thing. It's like
mhm.
right. It,
Yeah, they'll set him up how you said.
he's
They'll
kind
they'll
of in
set
the
him
same
up.
boat.
Yeah, they'll set him up where like you think he's the underdog. He looks like, oh, this guy has all these powers, and I'm just a regular human. What chance do I have? Like they make
Right,
him out to be the underdog. If it's your first time reading a story or something of his, they always
right.
make him out to be like the underdog. That I'm just a human. But then he's gonna win at the end. If he didn't carry that Batman name and you had that same story, you would say he's the underdog.
I think
Right.
you could say the same about Spider-Man. I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of this whole Dan Slott era of Spider-Man. I think he's been on that book too long. But I mean, if you look back on Spider-Man stories as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
he is an underdog, right? He's
Yeah,
like unlucky,
definitely.
the guy, but he seems to bounce back, and he gets his ass handed to him all the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That Spider-Man. That's so true. Spider-Man is constantly getting captured or beat up and needs rescuing from someone else, or he'll escape and bounce back on his own, how you said. But
yeah,
yeah, he's constantly outgunned. Like he's never as powerful as the guys he's
it never
fighting.
goes his way initially.
Because
Yeah, he's never as strong as the guys he's fighting,
Yeah,
and somehow he wins.
Spider-Man though is like when he is outgunned, he just talks like so much shit.
Yeah.
It's like pissed at
Yeah,
him.
his dialogue is some of the best dialogue. Spider-Man,
Got his
some
ass
of the
whipped,
most.
but he won because he made that guy pissed. That's kind of how that works with him.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, definitely. I think a lot of his character was Deadpool borrowed a lot from Spider-Man dialogue-wise, like personality-wise, and his dialogue and everything. Cause Spider-Man was doing this for years. He was like a smart mouth and talking to the fourth wall, all
yeah,
that. Then Deadpool started doing that after, and he kind of in a way he took Spider-Man's popularity and he became like the new Spider-Man, like the cool Spider-Man that sometimes he's bad. Yeah, like I think he kind of took he basically is he took Spider-Man's place, and towards the mid '90s he kind of you started seeing the shift where Spider-Man was losing popularity and Deadpool was gaining popularity, and it was basically the same character.
Yeah.
yeah. Spawn goes in that category too, I think.
Oh, Spawn. The Kid Spawn was the most popular. He was the top-selling solo title.
Yeah, I
And
mean, his origin story is pretty, you know,
yeah, yeah, his stuff
compelling.
is. I also like when he goes back in time to the medieval Spawn, because
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of
I
like
didn't read
Conan
too much
stuff,
of that,
like.
but
But yeah, Spawn. I trip out on all that diversity stuff they talk about now, because back in the days that wasn't like a thing they preached. They didn't preach diversity and so forth. But Spawn was black, and he was
yeah,
the
Al Simmons was
yeah he
black.
was, yeah he was the most popular character, most top-selling solo book.
Hmm.
Nobody cared about that. Nobody brought it up. It was like no one cares. It's everybody's the same. We care about the character you're building. We don't care what color you make them. You know what I
Yep,
mean? Like,
yep.
and now it's like it's so much on I feel like sometimes like they bring that up too much. Like if you want to make them certain race or ethnicity, whatever, that's cool. Make them, but I feel like it's pointed out, constantly pointed out. Like yes, I can see. I'm not blind. Like
But sometimes I think it's also like the fact that, when books like Spawn first came out, we didn't have social media the way we have it now. You
that's
know,
yeah,
so what happens now is, a creative team or a company decides to do something, and somebody in the media gets a hold of it, and they start going to town on it, which makes it like a thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure that if social media was the way that it is currently
now
today,
back then.
that Al Simmons would have been, oh my God, there's diversity in comics. Like,
Yeah. Oh my.
it,
Yeah,
it
I
would
could
have been the same
imagine.
thing, right?
I could imagine how crazy people would have gone over them if yeah, how you said, if this existed back then.
Yeah, I mean,
Also,
this is,
back then there was a lot of that. I don't know if you guys remember that there was a lot of that pro black going on
oh yeah, yeah.
back in the '90s. With even Jim Lee used to have that Malcolm X hat all the time. You remember that? He
So
was constantly wear that X hat. I think he might have done it for X-Men, but he always had that. That was like a big thing in those days.
Jim Lee with a Malcolm X
You
hat.
had yeah. If you notice all from like
That's
1988
scary.
to like '95, he would always have that hat on.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. You had
I'm just gonna choose to believe that it was because of the X-Men and not because of Malcolm
not
X.
because of that. Yeah, but you did have a lot of that going on because of that
Yeah,
whole
you
thing
did.
going on with Rodney King that happened and
Yeah,
everything. So everybody was like, Black Power and
yeah,
so that became like a thing. Like all the
yeah,
movies, you had a lot of those type of movies that touched on the ghetto and stuff like Menace to Society.
yeah.
Like there was a lot of that going on with
That was a
minorities.
whole NWA era, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. It was the whole NWA era, exactly. Like
yeah,
it was a big thing back then.
it was. And that's the thing again, right? You see how, society and cultural stuff gets, infused
Yeah, yeah,
into art.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
And I think that's even what's happening where you see a lot of the of the gay and lesbian or transsexual characters that are being brought into comics now because now the LGBT community is much more accepted and
yeah.
recognized
Oh,
than
if
it
this was
ever
in
was
the
before.
yeah, if this
Right.
was in the 17 years ago, it would be like considered a sign of weakness, like oh this guy's gay, he's weak, he's a girl or whatever. And now it's so much like
Now you got like Midnighter having his own prominent title.
yeah,
Yeah.
now like even like in real life, like now you see somebody that's gay, and you think like who gives a shit? Like oh this guy's gay, so like I don't care, like he's just another guy to me. Sometimes they don't like that, like they want you to make a big fuss about it and treat them special. It's like you're getting treated normal, like they would treat me, you know. That isn't that what you want, like to begin with, right? Like now, I see that a lot now. Like I have friends that maybe when we were in junior high or something, you would say something stupid, and now it's like, oh, this guy's gay or this guy's like, no one cares. It's like that's cool, whatever. No one cares, you know. Like let's
No,
get
it's
back to the
it's
next
part of
subject, you know.
it's part of society, right? So
Yeah,
again,
it's just normal
that's
now.
coming into the art, right? And
Yeah,
so it should be.
yeah.
I,
It's like
I think the reason that diversity gets blown out of proportion is because I think people need to write about stuff on blogs and they need to tweet stuff. So
yeah,
I mean, really, I think that's what it is. I think diversity should be natural and organic. You know, I don't think
yeah,
it should be something that should be talked about every 2 minutes. I
yeah,
think people just do it because there's this overarching sort of lean towards being politically correct all the time. And
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
big supporter of diversity in comics and in any kind of media. I want to see great positive representation of females and of different ethnic backgrounds and religions and whatever. But it's do I need to be browbeaten over the head with it like as soon as
Yeah,
I go on Twitter?
yeah. Like if I
And that's kind of why I don't go on Twitter, really, to tell you the truth. It's because I don't need to see people talking about this stuff. Like, it doesn't matter. If the book is good and if I'm interested, if the creative team is good, if the art, I'm going to buy the book because of that. I'm not going to,
hmm Like yeah, like I'm Mexican, so I don't constantly bring that up in every conversation or whatever. Like I feel like it doesn't matter. I'm straight. Like I don't have to constantly bring it up. You know what I mean? It's like yeah, whatever. Like it's not. First of all, I don't feel like if somebody tells me it's not my business, and if I could tell myself, or, I don't care. Like that's your business. Like I don't need it to be like forced on me, and I don't need to force myself on you. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. I think diversity, I think it has to be commonplace now in comics because that is the
yeah,
world that we live
you
in.
have to put it there. Yeah,
It has to be, it
I
should be
agree.
there because that's the way that it is.
Yeah,
But
I agree. I like it to be like in the real world. Like, you have people of all shapes, sizes, genders.
yeah,
You have
I
to,
mean, it's
ethnicities,
just that
you
we
have to have
shouldn't be
everything.
having, as comic book fans, quote unquote, we shouldn't be, fanboys, fangirls. We shouldn't be like freaking out about this stuff and arguing amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
One thing I'm not a big fan of, like when they try to bring in, diversity, like I wish you gave them their own voice, their own characters, not have somebody replace an existing character. I don't like that. Like I'm like, yeah, bring a new character. That's cool. I don't mind it. But why you have to replace someone else that was already there? Like,
Or like when they change a character just so they have diversity. Like,
yeah, yeah. It's like you're just changing them to say you're doing it the lazy way. Like, oh, we'll just change this guy, so we say it's there. How you just said.
Iceman's gay now. Okay, just saying, Iceman's gay.
Yeah, yeah, and but it's still
Yeah,
Iceman.
and that was the worst coming out story I ever read.
Yeah.
It's like an obvious attention, like just screaming for attention. Like, yeah, we're doing this, look, but it's still the same character. Like, I like what X-Men did or Batman. Like, Batman will constantly have a new Robin, build this character, and then he becomes his own thing.
Yeah, because Robin
X-Men
is
bring in
is
a
more.
new guy, build him up. Then if he's popular enough, he gets his own title. Like, build new characters that way through. Like,
Yeah,
you bring
because
them out on
Robin
their
is
own.
like a mantle, right? Robin,
Yeah,
Iceman is Iceman. There's only one Iceman. Robin was, it's evolved into being a mantle. So they can switch people in and out of that role, and it
yeah,
works, right? Like you
yeah,
were saying, like we've had Carrie Kelly, we've had, Jason Todd. I mean, like
yeah. You had
those,
so many
you know, Tim
Yeah,
Drake. Like there's
I
been
like that idea. I like that
Seth
idea.
Brown.
I like that idea when you build a new character to start them off on a team or as a sidekick. Because if you start them off by yourself, it's gonna be hard to get the sales initially. So you bring them on an established character's book, but don't replace that character. Like just have him as a sidekick or whatever,
So
right? Or as a part of the team, and then people he'll start growing his own fan base. Then you give him his own title, see how he does.
So could I ask you and Tim a question then,
Sure.
in like regarding the X-Men? So
Hmm.
how would you guys, if it was up to you guys, how would you guys have done that then? Is that what you would have done? You would have just brought a new character into the X-Men? Like how
Yeah,
would you
I was gonna say if you
integrate
wanted
an LGBT character?
Well, yeah,
definitely, if you wanted to bring a lesbian or a gay character, I wouldn't have just said Wolverine's gay now. Like that would just be like the easiest cop out. Like just make one of the characters gay and that's it. We're done. I would build a new character, and you know how they always constantly find new youth to join the X-Men, new mutants that are being outcasted by society.
right.
Find this character that's people don't like me because I'm gay or I'm a mutant, and that he has like these issues, kind of how they did with Jubilee or Kitty Pride, and they bring him along, come with us, you're accepted here, and build him up to be his own character instead of just changing one of the existing characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. I mean, the only example I'll give that was positive when they did that was my girl Batwoman. Uh, they took a character that was, before created to be, Batman's love interest originally back in the day to prove
Hmm.
that he wasn't gay and a pedophile, and
Yeah, yeah, that's
and they took this
that was
character.
one of the biggest persons they did that with was Batman because everybody said he was gay because he had
Yeah, because of
Robin.
him
So all of
and
a sudden,
Robin, right?
every book he would have a new girlfriend and
Yeah,
everybody
they
wants him.
brought
It's like,
in
all right, we
and
get it. He's
Batwoman.
not gay. Like,
Right, just to beat it home that he wasn't gay and a
yeah, like
pedophile.
they were trying
So,
too hard to show you like we get it already. We get it. Like you don't have to bring
right.
it
So
every
when
issue.
so when they took Batwoman and they revamped the character much later on and they made her gay, they did an amazing job of it. So is it really the integration, like using a character that already exists, or is it the writing? How was it handled?
I mean,
Yeah, that's true too. I guess yeah that the way you put it out there, that's important too. Because also for someone that's newer, this is their first introduction into the character. Bring it out in a classy way or whatever. Don't just throw it all up in someone's face. Like, develop it and all that. Because to some people, like for example, we're talking about Daredevil. Some people's first introduction to Daredevil was this lighter tone Daredevil from Mark Waid. So they don't know that he originally was a darker, grittier character. So to them, that's the thing that's different. When you change him to that, it's like, oh, that's a completely different character. He's supposed to be this way because that was their introduction. Everybody has their idea of what a character is, depending on when they hopped on that character's title or whatever.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said with Batwoman.
Yeah, I mean,
Somebody
I
did
think
not
that
see
was the most successful example of, if you want to call it forced diversity. It was forced. I mean, they took this character that was originally heterosexual and made her a full-blown lesbian,
hmm
Right.
you know, and I think the character was better for that change.
I agree.
It's really sad and unfortunate what happened to the character, and again, to me, that was just bad writing. Right? Like the build up and success of that character was the writing, and the demise of that character was the writing. So
What do you think about? Do you feel? Because I follow Batman. I read Batman. I feel I never read Batwoman, and I feel I never read Batgirl either. But she's constantly showing up in the Batman title, and I feel Batwoman. I never seen her show up in. I mean, she might have before, but I never seen it.
no, that's one thing I liked about her, is that she didn't play in a sandbox.
Really,
She
like
was
her own
very
thing.
much her own entity.
But do you
When
think that would help her popularity, get her name out there if she came out more often in the Batman titles?
I don't know. Maybe. I think that she was starting to build a lot of steam, and then they made this abrupt change of like the creative change, and
Hmm.
it really, I think that's what really did that run in, did that character in
Was the
terms of the New
creation.
52. because in Detective Comics with Greg Rucka and J.H. Williams III, I mean, she was building a bit of a cult following. People were sort of starting to recognize the value and awesomeness of the character she was. And I think they wanted to see that. A lot of the fans, I think, at least for me, I can speak for myself, I wanted to see that come fully developed. I wanted to see her personal life. I wanted to see her, her superheroing life.
Oh,
I wanted all of it. I wanted all of it, every bit of it. And
yeah.
I felt so ripped off and just, pissed on when DC just did what they did. Because it was like at the end, it's like they didn't even care what came out of her mouth. They didn't care how
Yeah,
stupid she
I heard when
looked
they
or,
got I heard when the new creative team got on the
oh,
book,
it
I
was
heard
brutal.
they were already told, this is already gonna be canceled.
Yeah, they just gave up on the character. They
But
knew
yeah,
that the character
I
was
think
going to
when
be
you hear
canceled and they
that,
just,
when you get as a new team, you get into a book and they tell you it's only gonna run 4 more issues, like you lose motivation. Like you just like, well, it's gonna be canceled anyways. I'm just writing whatever. I think that really affects the how much effort they're gonna put into something when they're told it doesn't matter how good you write or whatever, it's gonna be canceled anyways.
hmm
So I think that do you think that that might have been maybe why the end of it wasn't as good?
yeah, that could have very well been. But then, in my, when you're, to me, professionally, if you're given a job to do, you should execute that job to the best of your ability because it's going to be on your portfolio of your work.
Right.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
people are going to associate that name with future work,
Hmm.
you
But I
know?
see. I know it's part of the human element when you feel like you're in a no-win situation. You don't try your best. Like I see this in sports all the time too, where you're on a losing team, you got a star player that can clearly play better. He doesn't care because he's like, what's the point? We're gonna lose anyways, and you don't see him trying as hard as he can. And I feel it's the same with writers.
Yeah, but I mean, with like Batwoman, the
Hmm.
before and after J.H. Williams, and for the life of me can't remember that guy's name.
Hmm.
After they wrote the book, that book like seriously took like a 180. It wasn't even the same thing. It didn't have the same feel. It wasn't the same characters. It was like the reality of the book was even different. It was like it went from being this great thing to like she's in space with Clayface. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it made no sense. So yeah, they only had 4 issues to go or whatever, but that was also like an opportunity for them to do something cool on the back of what had come before, and they didn't do that. They just like screw it.
Yeah.
Let's throw 9 people in a spaceship and shoot them up in the sky and see what happens. And that's what it was. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. I agree, Tim. You're absolutely 100% correct. And I think had the writing team actually put some effort into it and tried to write a coherent story,
Yeah,
that what they should have done was left that character on a cliffhanger so that the audience that loved that character would have been even more hungry for her to come back.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who are fans of that character and of that book want her to come back because I want redemption for that character.
Right.
I want to see her come back and to be appreciated and to have those good stories again and to get a new writing team on it who's excited about her
Right.
What
and
about
wants to
like
tell stories.
what about did you guys see like what happened with Omega Men? That it
Yeah.
was gonna be canceled, but people really were enjoying the book and the writing, and because of that, the fan outcry, they got a lot of messages through Twitter and social media, and they said, you know what, okay, let's give it a few more issues, let's give it 12 issues or whatever. So you think maybe if Batwoman, if the writers tried harder instead of just giving up, maybe people would have been like, I don't want it to be canceled, it's so good right now, and
Well,
maybe
this
something like that would have happened.
like the story was clearly going to like a particular point. It was the narrative was driven to this one spot. So all of the energy from the story was heading that direction. And then the DC editorial team's like, no, you cannot go anywhere near this spot. And J.H. Williams and the other guys were like,
Oh, so that's the worst one. Yeah,
Yeah.
when higher ups are so
what's
really, so the book didn't have a chance. When your higher ups are telling you you can't do this, you can't do that,
yeah,
you
Yep.
have to write what they want. It's kind of a recipe for failure.
yeah. So they went, okay, thanks, bye, we're done, and they walked
Yep.
away.
Yep.
Yeah,
Tim's absolutely right. That's the thing. And the point that they were driving at was the point that all the fans had been. We were waiting for this.
Yeah,
We wanted to see this you
Yeah,
know, we wanted to see this marriage. Like
right.
we
Yeah,
did. I mean, I don't care if DC believes that their character should be married or not. I don't care about all that. I wanted to see this relationship get explored and for more stories to happen. I think there was a deep well of stories left to be told there.
Yeah,
yeah, like
You know.
yeah. When I read a book, I'm definitely more interested in their social aspect. What are they doing in their regular lives than when they fight the villain? Because you know, for the most part, when they fight the villain, they're gonna win and save the world, right? It's always the same. They're not gonna lose. Like, so I'm kind of most of the time worried like what's going on in their social life, you know, in their personal lives.
read Batwoman. You love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta check that. Who you say is Greg Rucka? Huh? I heard he's good. So I'm gonna try to look for it.
Elegy. Get the first trade, Jay. Get
Ele-
Elegy.
LG Allergy is called.
Yeah,
Elegy.
yeah.
Allergy. All right, yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Dude. When I first saw Batwoman, I wasn't sure if it was Batgirl. I was like, did they change Batgirl's name to Bat Woman or something? I wasn't sure till I saw that there were still Batgirl titles. Cause I didn't even know this was an old character. I thought
Oh
it was
yeah.
like kind of recent,
Well,
like
that's
from
the
the
thing,
last
right?
3 or 4 years. I thought she was like maybe came along the last few years.
Yeah, she was like she was just out there just floating around doing nothing in comic book space, and then they brought her back. I mean, Renee Montoya's character as the Question, fantastic. I'd love to see an ongoing title for her. Then you
Yeah,
have a
Renee
Hispanic
Montoya is
character who's she's gay and she's Hispanic. So I mean, there you've got diversity coming out the wazoo, and she's a fantastic character. I
yeah,
mean, when
I love her
Convergence
character
was
too.
going on, her little two book whatever was my favorite out of the whole thing. I
Yeah,
mean, I
also
wanted
she
to see Oracle and Nightwing, and then I wanted to see, you know, the
yeah
Question.
yeah I wouldn't mind seeing a ongoing title because that's some of my favorite stuff is like that Neuer detective
Yeah.
realm. That's what I like about that genre. That's why I like Batman. Is a lot of detective work going on. That would be
So
an awesome series. That
you
would be an
have
awesome.
all these characters that are diverse, but no one's doing anything with them,
Yeah, I would like to see.
right? So you guys are talking about like swapping in character, like lazy diversity, like lazy
Yeah,
integrating diversity. But there are diverse characters that exist,
they're
or
just not.
that could
Yeah,
be manipulated into being diverse that nobody's doing anything new with.
yeah, I agree with you 100%. There,
Like
there's
bring in some of these other more obscure characters
hmm
into the main universe, and then tell your diverse stories.
yeah, bringing these characters that you obviously tried this before. You had these characters there, you just haven't used them. So yeah, how you said you haven't done anything with them. Bring them back. I would love to see Blade.
Blade would
Blade
be
is awesome. I
amazing. I'd love
love
to see
Blade.
Blade too.
Yeah, especially during this whole vampire Twilight,
Yeah, I'm
what
surprised it didn't
that
bring
movie,
Blade.
Twilight Zone or something series, whatever the
Yeah,
vampire one, stuff like that.
Sparkly vampires.
Especially during that whole vampire boom that was going
Yeah.
on, you would have brought Blade back at that time.
Oh, Blade
Give
should.
him a
I'd love for
comic,
them
give
to
him
bring
a new
Blade back
movie.
right now. What
Yeah,
about Master of Kung Fu? I mean, like they
yeah.
can.
Oh, I heard yeah, I heard Master of Kung Fu is bringing I heard he's getting a new movie or something like that. I would love to see this shit because I
These
love
are all. This is
ninjas
all
and kung
diversity,
fu,
right?
samurais. I like all that. I like all that samurai ninja stuff. So
That'd be cool.
I'm excited for this because I don't know if it's a rumor or if it's already a fact, but I hear they're in the works of making a kung fu master of kung fu movie. I don't know who's gonna come out or who's gonna fight, but the word's out there. Or I don't know if it's gonna be on Netflix or what. I don't know. It might be Netflix.
I don't know. I like I said, I think that there's this wealth of characters that are floating around, and people should start to pull from here and get some really good writers on these books and revamp them and bring them back.
Yup, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I love Master of Kung Fu and love Blade. Blade is awesome. Love Wesley Snipes, one of my favorite actors. So I love when he came out on Blade. It was like yes.
But the problem though is like you have for example Greg Rucka, right? His
hmm
detective stuff was great, but Lazarus stuff is good too. So if you sat him down and you went, hey, which would you rather do? This story for us or this personal story for yourself, which will make you more money? I mean, clearly that's a no-brainer. Where you're
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna go with what? Yeah, they're
Yeah,
in the
creator owned is always.
right,
yeah.
and with the prevalence, I mean, everybody's got an image book now, and that's awesome because they're doing
Oh,
this.
I love Image. I love what Image
Yeah.
does. I just wish, like in their contract, you know how each person has I wish they
Right,
kind of developed a universe type thing, like where they're like, all right, every year you have to have two issues or something like that. You could intertwine with another title you're doing or with another person you get along with another writer, and like once in a while do that type of thing.
well, I mean,
Like
that's
I would like to see some of these stories later on meet up somehow, but not like a 10 issue thing, like just like 1 or 2 issues where you
right.
have a character from another title, like a guy from Black Science, come out somehow in the Low series. You know what I mean? Since they're both by Rick Remender, like that would
There's
be kind of crazy.
your own stuff. I mean, like Chew did a crossover with like Hack and Slash. I
Oh,
mean,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
it's a thing that happens, but I mean, you can't. I don't see any way of connecting the universe of like Low with like East to West or even
yeah.
like.
It has to be with a title that it would make sense, like for an issue or one shot or whatever.
But way back when Image first started, it was all one universe. I mean, Wildcats was in the Supreme universe with
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
Stormwatch or whatever hell the other thing was. I mean, it was all the same deal. And then they're like,
yeah.
oh my god, this is the same problems that we have with Marvel. This expanding continuity thing where we all have to keep in check.
Yeah, that can also ruin a story, like, cause Marvel they do these big events and they can ruin what other the stories that other writers are trying to tell. But like if it's for like 1 issue or two, I think like you know how Batman sometimes can cross over to Batgirl for 1 issue,
Right,
like that type of stuff. I think is not as it doesn't affect the story as much.
right.
Doesn't affect what you're doing already. But yeah, definitely when it's too much of it, when it's like a 6 issue thing, it can totally get in the way of what you were trying to tell, or the story you were
Yeah,
trying to
like Image right now. I mean, they're in their golden age. They're at a sweet spot because creators are just they're just going there and they're just letting good things are happening. I
tell. Oh
mean,
yeah, yeah, I
I think
love
it's a
Image.
little bit science fiction heavy right now. I'd like to see more horror. I mean, Tim, you were saying you picked up Harrow County, and that's something that I'm like super like psyched about as well. And Cullen Bunn, Jeff Lemire, Scott Snyder. I, I mean, Remender. These guys flourish when they're doing their own work. I mean, as good a job as Snyder would do on Batman or Colin Bunny goes in and he writes like he did Magneto and stuff like that.
Right.
It doesn't come close to what they do, um, you know, on their own work. I mean, Jeff Lemire, I really don't like his superhero work at all.
Mm.
But give me Sweet Tooth any day. One of the best stories I've ever read. Essex
I hear
County.
it's good. I haven't read it,
Sweet Tooth is
I,
amazing.
I'm hearing a
Essex
lot of
County.
people. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of people say it's good. A lot of videos I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, and Jeff Lemire, I mean, that's where I knew him from. I first became familiar with him from Essex County.
Mm.
And the fact that that book in itself made it to something we have here called Canada Reads, which is a high level literary competition where different celebrities, Canadian celebrities, put forth books that, they think all of Canada should be reading, you know? And the fact that a graphic novel made it onto that platform says a lot about what's in that book. So, comics as a medium, when creators are allowed to really go deep and let that creativity flow, you get some amazing work that transcends, labels. It
Right.
transcends. Well, this is comic book stuff, and this is prose, high level literary stuff. Essex County kind of it came out and said, no, this is just a great piece of literature. The
Yeah,
fact that it has pictures,
it shouldn't
you know,
affect. Yeah, what you think of it. Yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah,
amazing. It was
definitely.
the first graphic novel ever on that show, and it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I think Image is definitely more towards that realm where it's like this can be a novel as well. You know, like it's good writing because when I read Image, I feel like you're getting people's A game because
Right.
they're putting their own. You know, they have something. They're investing something into it. You know, their time, their money, whatever, their reputation, because this is their own how could I explain it? Nobody's tying your hands or anything. You're free to do with it as you will. So bring out your best. you're getting all
Yeah.
the writers' A game. And when you
Yep.
have Marvel or DC, they have restrictions. Like they gotta follow a certain code or line or whatever. So you're not. They have their hands tied to an extent where they're not free to write exactly what they want. And when they're with Image, it's like they can cut loose and do whatever they feel like doing, and if you get a better story, I believe.
And the reason that Image has come to the level that it has come to in a relatively short amount of time is because people were craving that. Fans were craving that soul. That's, DC and Marvel, for the most part, have become soulless machines. They
Mhm.
churn out the stories that we're all familiar with. We buy the books because we have a love for the characters. And like Tim said, a lot of us are following the writing teams, picking up books that we may not normally buy because we like the team on the book.
Right.
That's what's driving us buying the Marvel and DC books. I mean, I could easily agree with Tim on that. I look at that all the time.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and but with the independent stuff, it's just free flowing, and it's different. It's horror, it's science fiction, it's slice of life. I'm reading Airboy right now. It's
Oh,
only
I
four
gotta.
issues, but it's meta fiction, and I'm like loving it. I love it. I think it's amazing.
Yeah,
Okay,
You know, for
I'm
four
gonna
issues, it's amazing.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for a while. I'm gonna try to defend the big two. What about, because these companies are so big, you can't please all of the people all of the time, right? So I'm gonna defend them here. What if you say, oh, they're so worried about trying something new, and oh, you get the same stories, right? We get the same stories because why don't they try something new? We heard all these stories, but the minute they try that, you're gonna have people complaining. Oh, they completely changed the character. Oh, this is not how the stories go. Like you're
that's
gonna get
with all the.
negative feedback no matter what you do. Because you're so big already.
I mean,
Like these characters are so established that either way, if you don't try something new, you're gonna have people complaining that it's repetitive. If you try something new, you're gonna have people complaining that it's totally different and it's not what they wanted. You know what I mean?
right. I mean, I don't care if Thor's a woman or Captain America's black, but stick with it. Don't reboot and then reboot and then reboot and then reboot. If
Yeah. Stick with it for a few years, right? Like 5, 6 years, or like for a good while.
Yeah, we haven't even been around these characters long enough to figure out if we like them yet, and they're already something different. So it's I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying, but that doesn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't to begin with. I don't know why they changed it. It was just a little frustrating.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. I
I,
think.
I agree. It's especially for Marvel did a really good job of bringing it. Hold on, guys. Sorry, 1 second.
No problem. Let me read some of the comments here. All right, we got Sleepy Reader. He said, a Sleepy Reader said, I think anyone writing who views a title that's gonna be canceled as just a job will just belly flop the book, and anyone who really has ambition will try to see it as an opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, you write something good, you'll get hired onto a more popular title.
Yeah. I mean, Draco,
Sorry,
man,
guys, I'm back.
it's cool.
There we go.
He was exactly right. It was they could have done anything with that book, and that's kind of what they did. They just did whatever, and it
Yeah, yup. Especially when it's a canceled title, they don't when it's gonna be canceled, they don't care what you do with it. And yeah, it's a chance to show your creativity, your imagination.
muscles something, not put her in space. That's dumb.
Yeah, do whatever you as I said, do whatever you want to see what people think. The worst that happens, it gets canceled, right? Which is doing anyways.
I mean, but then there's like way back when, what was it? Bloodshot. Is that Bloodshot? It was Image book. It was Tim or Jim Lee did it for a while. Deathstroke, Death Blow. Anyway, Death Blow was getting canceled, and like the artist at the time like quit the book, so they brought Tim Sell in to do the art. And Tim
Okay.
Sell is not like the big burly running around with guys with guns kind of artist. He's a more like grim and gritty, and this is not a grim
Yeah.
and gritty story. It's really good stuff on his part, but it's like even when he went into it, he's like, I knew I was going to be the one that was turning out the lights. They told me this was only going to, you know.
Yeah,
It was supposed to. He was just going to do the last 4 issues, and it ran like for 6 after he left. So I mean, people came onto it because they liked what he did. They could have done. I mean,
Yeah, they could have got another 6 issues and see how that goes.
right? They could have done something with it, and they didn't, and that's a shame because on my list of like top 10 best stuff to read, regardless by like the big tier or whatever, in like the 20 plus years I've been collecting, like Batwoman's up there. It's like 2 or 3. I mean, it's amazing, amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
I gotta check out some of that Batwoman. I just read Long Halloween like 2, 3 months ago for the first time, and it's really good. I was really big in the Jeff Loeb writing.
Yeah,
The art of himself is kind of I could take it or leave it. It's
I
not bad, but it's not great. It's like whatever.
yeah, he's not for everybody, but I mean, I'm a fan of his. So
But yeah, it's not bad. I saw it and I got the black and white one because sometimes I like seeing stuff in black and white just to see the because I like to compare like artists and stuff. That's why I get like those hardcovers because in the back it always shows sketches, and then you see the sketches, then you see the panels of the actual colored art, and kind
right,
of compare because some art changes so much with the coloring and inking
yeah,
and everything. It looks something completely different
yeah,
than when you see the raw pencils.
right, yeah.
Yeah, if there was an indie title right now, from Dark Horse, Image, IDW, whatever, that you wish could be a movie, what would it be?
And there's the last like couple of years, I've really only read like one book where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a movie. Like you read the book and you're like, this is a movie. This is a TV show. This needs to get out so more people can see it. And that's Razzle by Jeff Smith. That was
Razzle. Oh, I see. Yeah, I seen that video where you bought that like omnibus, like a big
yeah,
hardcover book.
yeah. That was like honestly, that's the one thing I've read in like the last couple of years where I'm like, yeah, this is this needs to be a TV show. This needs to be a movie.
Oh, that's
Everything.
cool. What's that about?
Oh, jeez. Oh
Is it
man.
like
It's
detective, fantasy?
yeah, it's a fantasy adventure kind of thing. He's an art thief that like jumps dimensions. He's trying to reconnect with his girlfriend, kind of thing. It's really good. It's kind of hard to explain, but it it's clearly supposed to be a movie or a TV show. Clearly.
All right. Like yeah, I seen that. I seen that Razzle around.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I would love to see Low. I would
Hello?
like to see what they do that in a movie. Yeah, that was it's kind of it's a weird, depressing story, but I would like
Yeah,
to see how that pans out in film.
yeah, yeah. That would be cool.
Yeah, that one I find that story interesting. I like Birthright, but I feel Birthright is like Jumanji. Like I already seen it in a movie. Like I don't need to see it again. So you guys ever watch Jumanji? You know how he leaves as a little kid and comes back as a grown up to save the day?
Yeah,
That's kind of what happens in Birthright. He leaves as a little kid to a fantasy world, comes back as a grown man to fight this wizard or whatever. It's kind of felt like similar plot.
I think I think Fables could translate like TV wise.
yeah,
Oh, Fables is good.
I think Fables could like HBO or something like that
yeah.
or
Yeah.
Netflix.
Have you ever watched Once Upon a Time
Yeah,
or
I
Once?
don't watch it live. I've seen like episodes here and there.
Or yeah, because I was gonna say, if you watch Once Upon a Time or what's the other one? Alice's Wonderland's Once Upon a Time. They're kind of the same. It's a spin-off. They're kind of like in that Fables universe.
Yeah, it's
The
all like
stories are
fairy
different, but
tale.
it's definitely that same universe.
Yeah, but I
I think
think
that's
episodically, like I think it could work.
yeah, it would definitely do well because Once Upon a Time was doing real well last time I checked. Like last year, they were doing real good. I don't know if they finished their story or what, because I don't really follow it, but I know it was doing good. And I got the first hardcover, Volume 1. I really enjoyed it. I gotta get Volume 2. And in the back, well, let me show you. Hold up. In the back of the book, I was reading it. It says the writer of 12 Eisner Awards and so forth, blah blah blah. And then it says this right here. It says that Once Upon a Time, like implying that the show Once Upon a Time adapted from this book. Like they got the idea from this.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I enjoyed the book. I seen how you said too. I seen a few episodes of the other one, of the Alice's Once Upon a Time, and I enjoyed it. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see that shit in like in a movie, in an action movie or something. Fables. I'm trying to get more into. I need to get some more fantasy type titles. Oh, did you guys check out my beer? I bought a few of these at the store last time I seen them myself.
A hobbit.
That's
That's
it.
cool.
It's the Hobbit.
Gollum there, yeah.
Yeah, I got them. And these are the big ones. These are the what is it, 16 ounce or 22 ounce? Got a six pack for like $8, and I was like, damn. And I saw the Hobbit there. That's the main reason I got it. I go, let me try it out.
That's cool.
It's okay. It tastes alright. I had those Hellboy ones. I think that one tastes a little better. The Hellboy Red Ale. But that one's not bad. So what are you guys currently following right now?
What do you mean, like in the mainstream comics? Like,
Like anything that's either recently released or one you're currently reading or something? Like what are
for
you
me,
currently reading up on?
I think the most consistent one for me right now is like the Batman and Robin Eternal. That series has been awesome so far. And so has Dark Knight Genesis, Arkham Knight Genesis. Sorry.
Okay, that's the one that's based on the video game, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and that one is it's just amazing. I'm really enjoying that.
All right. Yeah, I heard a
Really
lot of
good.
people talking about I think Batman and Robin's the one I hear. Batman and Robin Eternal.
Yeah,
Everybody
Batman
saying
Robin
that one's
Eternal's
good.
been it's been really good. I mean, they've considering they have the cast of rotating writers and artists. It's there's only been two issues that I haven't really cared for.
Hmm.
Everything else has been solid. So
How much issues is it in right now?
I think it was up to seven. I think today would have been eight.
Hmm.
I think I didn't get to go to my shop today, so
What about you, Tim? What are you currently reading right now?
East to West. I keep harping on it.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it. I only read up to issue like I had the hardcover, so I only read up to issue 15.
Yeah, the first
What
one.
the first trade what the first trade includes, the first hardcover,
Yeah.
and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I want to see what happens next with the because I'm on issue 15, so you're like on issue 23, 24.
Yep. 23. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I didn't get to see what happens with the son of death or whatever when he's going to rescue him and it ends there. The last trade ends there. The third one. I want
Babylon.
to see what they do with this character because he's supposed to be the Messiah or something, right?
He's gonna be something. Yeah. There's, my buddy Ethan and I, we're big East to West fans, so we spend a lot of time at work speculating about where we think it's gonna go.
Yeah. That's the first book I read from Jonathan Hickman, and I really enjoyed it. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
when
I
that
might
book
pick it.
first came out, there were so many people that were on that book that loved it, and then
Yeah.
I don't know, then it just seemed to sort of die down a little bit, and then there's like a smaller group like you, Tim, like of hardcore people that like it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, to me personally, I would find this hard to read and trade because you get so little bit of the story, and then the next issue you just get kind of like characters development, who they are and their personalities. Then the next issue, a little bit of like story again. Then again, a little bit more of who this other new character is, and so like
But
if you read it by single issues, I think it'll be a drag. Like you definitely gotta read like at least by trade, like by 6 issues.
I don't know. I don't know. I kind of dig it because, like, at least the last couple of issues, it
Hmm.
hasn't all been the same story. It's like this issue's about this character, issue's about this character.
Hmm.
It's just kind of expanding the story, and you can tell he's going somewhere with it.
Yeah, yeah, I like how he drops little hints of stuff like he'll bring something up and I'll read it and I'm like, wait a minute, you never explain what this is or what's going on here. And 2 issues later, he explains it. Like he always lets you lets it digest, I guess. Like you're thinking about like, oh, he never explained this or whatever. Then 2 issues later, it's explained and it's like, oh, this is why I did this or this is why this happened. And you're like, oh. Then again, something else happens and you're like, what's going on? Like, why did this just happen? And it waits 2 or 3 issues to then explain what just happened. I
Yeah.
like how it does that because that reads really well in trade. Like it keeps you I guess makes you draw your own conclusion. So he explains it. You're like, oh, I wonder if it's this or I wonder if it's that, and
Yeah.
it gets your mind it gets that hamster running on that treadmill for a little while. Yeah, I like the way it does that. Like it gets you to draw your own conclusions and think like think keeps you thinking about the book.
Yeah.
Do you
The
guys
last
do you guys think that that sometimes with Image there's too many number ones? Like sometimes I get overwhelmed and I don't know, like it's hard to pick, like you can't buy everything.
Yeah, yeah,
So
we're not
like
rich.
do you ever feel like it's a bit overwhelming at times? Like it seems like every week there's at least two or three number ones. And
Yeah,
not just from Image, but like, Dark Horse, IDW, like Boom, some
yeah,
like the other more the smaller companies.
yeah. I think Image does
It
that
just
the most because
Image does it a lot, yeah.
yeah, because you have so many new writers or creative teams that want to start their own book, or
Yeah.
that already have one and they want to start a new one.
But it's like you sometimes you feel like you've just missed out. Like, I'll watch videos and I'm like, oh my God, I should have picked that up, or wow, I totally missed the boat on that. And
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
I feel like I'm playing catch up.
right.
yeah, yeah. There's so many out there. You can't read them all.
No,
Can't
no.
read them all. You gotta pick and choose.
Yeah, and sometimes you pick the wrong ones, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's why when you start off on a book, like I like to buy the first trade or two trades and yeah, if you'll know if you don't like it, so you could move. If you're not liking it, don't force yourself. Oh, I already bought the first. I have to buy the next five. Like don't force yourself. If you don't like it, invest that money into another title. You could be missing out on that. You
yeah.
might enjoy 10 times more. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, it's true. I don't have a problem cutting books. I don't get emotionally tied that way. Like I don't just because I don't have the time and the money to do that.
hmm
So for me, this is why I love YouTube so much because I can listen to Tim, I can listen to you, and like a whole bunch of other people that I respect,
hmm
where I can be like, oh my God, if they're reading this book, there's got to be something there to it. Even if I overlooked it, or if I at first was like, I don't know, because I was kind of that way about Paper Girls. I was like,
hmm
I don't know, should I not? And then I just the people that are reading the book are enjoying it, and it's the 80s are my jam. I love it. The time period works for me. So
hmm
now I'm jumping on Paper Girls, and I haven't
Oh,
even read issue one yet of it, but
oh,
I'm already pumped because I've
you're
I've
already pumped up for it.
yeah, I'm already
Yeah.
pumped up for it. I mean, I'm late to the party on this book, but
That's exactly what I was gonna ask you. I was gonna ask you what you think about it, but
you know what? I was just sitting on the fence and
mhm.
just sitting on the fence about it, but now I just like forget it. I'm gonna read this book and whatever.
Yeah,
And that's
I
the thing. I
know.
mean, I like Brian K. Vaughan. I like a large breadth of his work, so I'm pretty comfortable in terms of knowing who the writer is and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And Cliff Chang's art, it's I don't
Yeah,
dislike his art.
they got a good team. Yeah, I seen Chang's art and I read some Kevon and I like both.
Yeah. And so for me, it's like, that's the thing. I look at YouTube as a way to sort of get an opinion from people who this is like, they go to their shops, they order online, whatever, but they're consistently reading comics.
hmm
So for me, I'd trust their opinions. I trust your guys' opinions way more than I would trust what's, on a website or something.
Oh yeah, 'cause websites a lot of times they get paid to say
Right.
stuff, hype up a book. Like it's not even their
Right.
own opinion.
Yeah, so if I listen to a podcast that's like kind of it's not a big podcast, it's like a little one, and it's just a bunch of people who are fans getting together to talk about stuff. I'll find out about cool stuff from there. I find out about it from my friends here on YouTube and whatever. So for me, YouTube has been a big, huge help in helping me to determine what I should spend my money on. You
Definitely.
know?
That's the whole reason I picked up East to West. 'Cause when I barely started on YouTube, like about a year ago, East to West was like an issue 5, and every video I'll click on, they were praising that book, how great it was, and so forth. And
Yeah,
a
that
few
book got a
others,
lot of love. It got a
yeah.
lot
And
of
so
love when
so
it
so
came
I
out.
was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy the trade. And when it was going towards I think it was on the second trade. The second trade was about to come out. But like, I'm gonna buy the trade then. And then I heard that the hardcover is gonna come out, so I said, oh, you know what, I'm gonna wait for the hardcover. But you know what, I really enjoyed it, and I really found out about that through YouTube, through everybody's videos. and really through Image, because once I saw everybody's videos, I didn't even know if Image was still around. Or my picture of Image was still like Savage Dragon, Spawn, like Youngblood. And then when I saw these new books, I was like, wow, this company is like completely different now. And I started buying some of those titles, the ones I see on YouTube more often, and they were really good. Like it was definitely like a nice change of pace from your superhero stuff. Like its own stories. It's like it's just like movies. I'm always gonna prefer other type of movies most of the time over superhero ones.
Yep.
But I do like the superhero ones. But I feel they bring something different.
Well,
And,
I
that's
think
how
for
they
me
put on.
too, like Rachel Rising is another book that I was on that book from the first time it came out because I love Terry Moore. That in my mind, that man can do no wrong. He's an amazing guy, and I love all the stuff he does. And to see how much popularity that book has gained within the community, and it's and outside of it, that book, it was on the verge of stopping because he couldn't produce it anymore. It was it was getting to that point. But then so many people, just kind of rallied, and the book got a second
They
life.
can win. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
and you know what? It's doing well in trade. A lot of people are reading it in trade, which is a great way to read it.
Hmm.
Um, and you know what I mean? But again, that book, it was because of YouTube and just word of mouth and people talking that book up that more people started picking up the trade. And
Yeah.
you know, Saga
Yeah.
is a lot like East of West in the sense that a lot of people had a lot of love for that when it came out,
Mm.
and it kind of dwindled. And now, there's a few people that still really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, like I seen that first issue. I think it's going for some money, like on eBay. I think it's that one, Rachel Rising.
Yeah, the
If
first
you follow
issue, and I
key
think
issues, yeah, you follow key issues and so forth. I think the number one of that is
because
going for.
they're low prints, he doesn't do crazy high prints.
Yeah,
Strangers in Paradise is the same way. The first issue of that, even to the second or third printing, it's very low.
yeah, that's a good indicator of knowing that a book was good or whatever. If
Hmm.
you see the first issue or a key issue, whatever, like from these indie books, like Saga, for example, number one is going up in price. Because the series has been successful. There's
Yep, and people are always trying. They're trying to read. I guess people, that whole walking. I call it like the Walking Dead syndrome. You know,
yeah,
it is because everybody
yeah,
is like, Walking Dead was this little nothingness book about zombies. When it first came out,
yeah.
nobody paid any kind of attention to that book. I remember when it first came out, and it as
It's
soon
black
as
and white. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? No one paid any attention to this. And you talk about that whole vampire thing where there was that explosion of vampire books and movies and whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
no one was talking about zombies then.
yeah.
Like
I
when
would say
Kirkman
zombies
came
are
out
like
with
that.
Walking Dead.
I would say zombies are like that now too, though. Now they're
Yeah,
like,
but zombies blew up after Walking Dead, right? Like
yeah,
nobody
after Walking
cared
Dead,
about
yeah, now
zombies.
zombies is the new thing.
Yeah, zombies exactly,
They
right?
took over
So
the vampire fad that was going on, or
people are
is
trying to
that still going on?
replicate that, right? They're trying to replicate buying, like the people that missed out on Walking Dead when it first came out. They're trying to, oh my God, is this going to be the next Walking Dead? Is this going to be the next
Yeah,
Walking Dead?
yeah. A lot of has to do with that speculating.
Speculating, right?
Yeah,
And
a
it
lot of
just
it.
drives the price up of books, especially number ones,
Oh
and
yeah,
you know,
especially Image number one.
image number
Not
ones. And
necessarily if you bring out a new number one Wolverine, no one will care.
no,
But
but
an
like
Image
image
number
number
one.
one, yeah. People who are not even into comics really want to buy image number ones purely on the off chance that it could,
Get a show or something.
right,
Yeah,
But then that has such a negative effect on people who read the books regularly because it drives up the price for the rest of us.
yeah, because
You know,
number one will sell so much, so number two they bring out twice as much on the print run for only one third of that sells.
yeah,
Because nobody wants a number two anymore. The people that are not following the series,
right,
like yeah,
exactly. So it's just it becomes like this vicious circle, and it's. But that's the thing. That's why there is so many number ones out. A lot of creators want their own books out, and then the market is hungry for it. The
yeah,
market is
I
going to
like
give
that.
it to us.
I don't mind there being a lot of number one. Like I have here. Oh, hold up. What did I just read right now? Comic Dub put. Yeah, there's definitely like too many number ones. Absolutely too many number ones. There is a lot of them, But I like that because you don't have to buy all of them. You know, like I like that you have more options, and then you pick and choose what you want from there.
Yeah, we've got a lot of variety now with the number ones,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
like
like I said, it's sometimes it's
variety,
just
and then you just
overwhelming.
yeah,
It's
because
just
like
overwhelming because you just don't know. And then what happens, right, is that
mhm.
you hear from, like I said, I go to YouTube or whatever, and you talk to the people that are invested in this hobby, and they're like, oh, you got to read this book. It was a really good, it's really good, whatever. You go to try to get it, and now it's already driven up because people are speculating about it.
Yeah, yeah, it's
You
always
can't even
with
get a hold of the number one. You gotta,
yeah, with the
you gotta
number
wait
one's
for the
always a
trade.
hassle. Yeah, number one's always gonna be the toughest to get.
Yeah, it's like you have that small window of getting it, right?
Yeah,
You've got a window, and then you feel like you've got to make that decision whether or not you're going to get it. Because if you miss the window,
you gotta
right?
buy it digitally or something.
Yeah, you'll be paying out the wazoo to try to get a first.
Yeah, next week is $20.
Yeah, like, it's whatever eBay says it's going to be. Overstreet is
Yeah.
out. It's whatever eBay says it's going to be.
Yeah, yeah, that's another thing. The books, how they go up in price. People blame it on the market and this and that. It's us. It's the consumers, the spec. Well, it's mostly the speculators, but a book is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. You know,
Yeah, always, right?
if I put a
Anything.
book up for $30, everybody's willing to. People are willing to buy it for 30. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna sell it for 30. You know, I'm not
That's
gonna sell
right.
it for $2 when this person tells me they'll give me 30.
Right.
It's worth as much as that person thinks it's worth. If they think it's worth 30 to them,
And
I'm gonna
that's
sell
where
it to them
people
for that price.
Well, that's where even at conventions you find a lot of retailers. That's where they're setting their prices.
Yeah,
They'll tell you, oh well, on eBay it's going for this. They don't even talk about Overstreet. Like it doesn't even matter.
yeah. eBay is the new Overstreet. Yeah,
It's
Overstreet
ridiculous,
doesn't
but who's
matter.
regulating that? Just any person who wants to buy a book. Like you said,
Yeah,
if somebody wants to pay $100 for it, then now that's apparently what it's worth. Not,
yeah, yeah. Exactly. It's like if yeah, how you said, if this person wants to pay $100, it's worth 100 to that person. So that's what it's worth because somebody will buy it at that price. So
right.
it's up to
So
people to
so
it's up to people to set their own limit. If I say I wouldn't pay more than 20, you say I wouldn't pay more than 20, everybody says I wouldn't pay more than 20 for this book, then the market dictates that book is worth 20. But
right.
if someone says, well, I'll pay 23 because that person's gonna pay 20, I'll one up them, I'll pay 23. Then someone else says I'll pay 30,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It just
it's up to
becomes
the people where they draw the line. That's where you put auctions on eBay. You see where people draw the line, like I'll go up to this, I'll go up to this, and then they always bid more than what they said they were gonna do. Because
yeah.
now it's just an ego thing. Where like I gotta beat this person that's trying to outbid me.
Yeah,
Like
and there's like, what's the real value? Like, this is all based on, like, these books are like a month old, a week old, 2 weeks old.
yeah,
Like, what is the basis that this book is even worth that? Like, when you talk about keys, like real keys, it's because significant things happen in those books. First
yeah,
appearances, events that changed the character as you
yeah.
know it.
To
Like,
me,
like really, like altering events in the book make it a key,
yeah,
or a specific artist or writer, whatever. But now it's all based on, like, is it going to get a TV show? Is it going to get a movie?
yeah. That's a new thing now.
That's sad, right? Like
That's
that's
definitely what it is. It's all based
awful.
on a TV hype, movie, whatever hype. It's all based on that now.
Yeah,
To
which is
me,
which is
I
awful.
would never buy a book that came out last month for $80 or never. If I'm gonna spend $80 on a key issue, it's gonna be something from like the '70s, the
Yeah.
'60s, '80s. I'm not buying something from 2010 for $80. You know what I mean? Like, it's not
No,
gonna happen. For me, it's not gonna happen.
no,
Like,
I agree with you.
those
I can't
books,
justify it either.
yeah, those hot books or whatever,
I can't do
they
it.
fluctuate so fast. Like this week they're $50, and in six
Next week
months,
they're five.
yeah, in 6 months it's a $10 book again.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
and those
sometimes
old
you'll find it like months later in a dollar bin somewhere. Like,
yeah, yeah, definitely.
mm,
Unless it's like an old Silver Age or something like that. That stuff, the prices are gonna stay where they're at. They're already established key issues. They're
yeah.
not that price is not gonna change.
But that's
But
the
with like
thing. They
newer
got to
books,
be
it's gonna change depending. Oh, this movie flopped. Now the book, Sin City, the hardcover for Dame No Kill, it was $30. The movie flopped. Now they're selling it for like 30 cents. A
yeah.
brand new hardcover on Amazon.
See?
Like because
Like it's ridiculous, right? Like
yeah,
to me, like, the issue should signify something important in the comic book history of that character or
like
franchise,
this is
whatever, right?
yeah, like
But
this
like
is
when you're just labeling anything like just because it has a number one on it and it's from Image. That's why I said they're just everybody thinks it's going to be The Walking Dead all over again, and it's
Yeah.
not.
If it's like a new hot book that came out currently, if I could find it at cover price or less, I would buy it, but I won't buy them at the new prices people are asking for. I'll be like, well, if I find it, I'll buy it if I find it at cover price. But because it's a $30 book, even though I have no interest, but I'll buy it at cover price just because it's a key issue right now. But I won't pay that $30 price. Like, if anything, I do this sometimes. If I'm like, oh, well, that book is going for 30 right now. If I see two in the store, I'll buy both, sell them, and buy an omnibus. Like something I actually want to read. Like, send me some
Yeah,
money to, which I know to an extent that's what people do it for. They speculate to
sure. They
save
want to
up for
flip it,
something
right?
else. Yeah, they do it because a lot of times they don't want that book, but they do it
Right.
for the same reasons to sell it in hopes of getting a bigger key or something else.
But
Or
it
sometimes it's
just
just to sometimes you buy books just to sell them at a higher price, and obviously you're not gonna get rich off of doing that. You're not gonna make
no.
money like to live on.
No,
But
you can
but you
make
could get
money
enough
based on the
money.
book,
Yeah,
but
but you can make enough profit where if you buy them low and sell them high, you can make enough profit where it pays for your hobby, where that money is going towards
right,
my next week's pool. So where you're
exactly.
getting your books for free.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
that's really the best
But
you
it
could
just
hope
makes it
for
it just makes it difficult when
for
any
readers.
random book is now worth $30. And like yesterday it was a $2.99 book.
Yeah, it sucks for the average.
It
Like I would
it
never
hasn't
buy
earned
10
its
of a book.
credit.
I would never buy 10 of one copy of one book, even though sometimes it would be smart to. I never do. I might buy two.
I
And
rarely ever do that too. I the most I would buy is two. For me, as long as I have a copy for myself to read, and if I want to part with that book later on down the road, then I will. But
yeah,
I don't feel the need to own like 7 copies of something.
yeah. I used to do that at first. Like when I first started collecting, I was watching a lot of the key issue videos, and I'll see books like the Spider Gwen and stuff like that. Like, oh, they have it here. Oh, that's kind of popular. It's cover price. I'm buy like 10 of them. You know, or but then I never did that though. I'll buy like one or two, but then I should have bought like 10 because it's so expensive now. But I
Yeah,
don't
I
like
don't know.
doing that because
I
I feel
just don't
like
even like the story of that. Like Spider
I like
Gwen
the
to me
story,
is
but I wouldn't buy 10 because it's like I feel it's a big move. Like for someone else that's coming in, they might want to read it that
yeah,
doesn't even know about key issues or nothing, and you're doing this, like because I know I make this face when someone comes into a comic store and there's a book you want, and there's like 10 copies and they grab all 10,
yeah.
and then they just buy it and you're like this fucking asshole, like So I don't like doing that for that reason. It's like I don't want to be that guy. Like,
Yeah, no, no. You know what? I don't need to be greedy. I just, 2 copies would be the most. And usually, if I do that, it's because I'm picking up something for another person. If I know that this person wanted the book, if they tell me, or if I know they like it, and whatever, I don't, I'll grab another copy for a friend anytime. But I don't feel the need to be greedy. Everybody needs a chance to read something, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. That's why I love that now they have everything in trade. Like that's why they do those story arcs. And I
Yeah.
like that a lot of these key issues I would never be able to afford that are like
Oh yeah.
300 bucks, or I mean I can afford them if I save up, but I don't want to spend that amount of money on them.
Yeah.
And I always felt like, well, I'll never be able to read that unless there's a single issue reprint or something. Now with these trades and omnibuses, I feel I could read those stories at an affordable price. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I really like that because when I first started, I was just buying single issues and I would run into key issues and it was getting expensive. I was like, wow, this hobby's kind of expensive. For this one book, it was $50. For this one, it was 85. And I'm like, man, like I can't afford to buy books. I'm just gonna stop. And then I started seeing these omnibuses and all, and I go, it reprints those same issues. I go, okay, I'm gonna enjoy it just as much. It's the same exact issue reprinted. That's when I started getting into the whole, you know what? I'm selling all my key issues and I'm buying trades, omnibuses. I'll
And they
show
look
at the end of
nice on
the
your bookshelf.
yeah, I'm gonna show you all my books I have on my bookshelf. I'm gonna show you at the end of the year because at the end of this month it'll be a year
Bookshelf
that I've been
tour,
collecting.
Jay. You got to do a
At the end,
bookshelf tour.
yeah, I'm gonna show you. I don't have a big shelf. It's small, but I'm gonna show you other trades I've collected, and I've collected trades for a year. And for this whole year that I've been buying trades and hardcovers and omnibuses, I haven't spent $1 from my own money. I've been trading them for my key issues I already had and stuff like that. And I
That's
only bought,
awesome.
you know what I mean? So
Sweet.
so it's like I've been getting everything not free because I originally bought these issues, but I've been trading them from my key issues and so forth, and I know where the speculators are coming from as far as this. I spend maybe $200 on these key issues, like maybe $300, and I've gotten like $2,000 worth of trades in omnibuses because all these books went up in price, and I'm selling them for three times what I paid for. So
Right.
so it's like wow, I bought all these books and I still have money left over for when other stuff comes out, and I only spent $300 for like 20 omnibuses. Well, you'll never buy 20 for $200. You know what I mean?
No,
So
no.
I know
And
why they do it. I know why they do it. I ain't mad at you. You know,
sure.
I'm not
No,
in
no,
your
no. I mean,
hustle.
that's just the way it is, right? But
Yeah,
um,
it's part of the game. It's part of the
it is
game.
part of the game, yeah. It's unfortunate at times for your wallet, but it is part of the game. And like for me, the wealth of comics is the stories and the art and stuff like that. So, I like I said, I'm so terrible when it comes to like what's going to be the new book or whatever. That's not really my forte. Give me like back issues, you know, key issues. Yeah, if it's a character that I really really love, something like that, or like for example, Strangers in Paradise. I'd love to have issue number one of that in single, stuff like that. But
Yeah,
I'm not even really into key issues as much as I am into just I don't
just
know the
stories.
connection to the story. I want a good story.
Yeah, I hear
I
you. Like
want some awesome art.
yeah, that's what I did with my books. Like I started buying trades and all that because I told you, I started off buying key issues and don't get me wrong, it's hard work. Like you're digging through boxes for hours, like and
But
then
that's part of the fun, right?
in hopes of finding something good. But yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's fun, but it's fun when you find something. You're like, yes. Then you keep
No,
looking and
it's not fun getting dirty or having to
yeah, sitting on
stand
the
next
floor
to.
on your knees and looking through the boxes. But once you
Yeah,
find something, you're like, yes, I found this and I found this, and you end up spending like $10 for like a few issues that you could sell for $80 or whatever.
yep,
So I started off doing that, and it was entertaining to me. I liked it. I liked the hunt. But then when I started actually reading some of these, I'm like, now I want to know what happens next, or now I want to buy the next issue. So I
yep.
started buying the runs, and then I started finding out, like, you know what, it's cheaper getting the omnibuses, and I started changing my habits of how I collect from keys to runs, and then from runs to hardcovers, because of those facts. But yeah, I know when you find key issues, the you get pumped up. You're like, yes, I found this book for $10 or whatever, and it's not easy. They're not just given to you. You know what I mean? Like you gotta dig through boxes. You gotta will and deal with the sellers. Like,
You gotta
hey,
work,
how
yeah.
about I give you 20 for that $80 book? Look, it's damaged. Like, you gotta talk to them. It's work in itself.
It
It's
is.
not
You gotta work, but you know, for me, like whenever I see anybody doing like these, I got these 50-cent hauls. I'm always like just super enthralled with the video because I'm like, oh my god, like look at the stuff they found for 50 cents or
yeah,
dollar books or you
yeah,
know what I
that's
mean? Like
crazy.
I mean, for the wow factor, watching the videos that have like the big key issues, that's always cool because it's always nice to
Yeah,
see that somebody's got a book that they want or whatever.
yeah.
But watching people bring these like 50-cent hauls, dollar bin hauls, that's the stuff I'm really stoked about because I know that those people went rifling through a box.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
you go right
definitely.
like you go rifling through. Usually with keys, right? You'll either get them like it's a little bit less work, especially the ones that are slabbed or
Yeah,
nice copies and whatever. Usually there's a little bit more wheeling and dealing going on, but your 50 cent and your dollar books, those are ones that you're digging for, right? You're
yeah.
in there digging and you're finding stuff for to fill in your run and stuff like that. So you're getting your hands dirty with those.
Yeah, yeah, I love hearing the
That's
stories. When
cool.
people are showing a video, I like hearing the story of how they came across that book. Or
Yeah.
look, I this person offered me, they were selling it for this much, I offered this much, or I found it in a dollar bin, a $5 bin.
Yep.
Because like if you just show the book, it's like, well, even if it's an expensive book, a million people have it already. I've seen it on a bunch of videos. So I like to hear how you got yours, like your story
Yeah.
behind it, like
I love that. Or flea market
that's why I
videos.
like hearing the condition and the price they got it for, so I
Mhm.
could kind of get an idea of what everybody's paying for it. Like, oh, so this person paid this person paid this, like, so you could kind of know when you go to buy these issues, have it in mind what you're willing to spend. Like, this is what it's going for, so this is what I'm spending. Like, I'm not gonna
Right.
go higher. You know what I mean?
Yep. Right
Like,
now I'm trying to find as many like Silver Age, even Golden Age Wonder Woman.
mm-hmm.
And wow. that I can find them in the wild, but man, it's all about haggling. And sometimes I can get away with it because for whatever reason, I don't know, the people I meet in the wild, if it was a Batman book or something, it'd be a whole different story. They're a lot less willing to part with it for a cheaper price. But
Hmm.
like Wonder Woman, online it's a little bit different. If you're going online, you're going to be bidding against other people,
Yeah, yeah, there's gonna be
for
other
the
people with
gold
bigger
leaf
wallets
stuff.
than you.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't
like
really
out in the
buy.
wild, you can probably score like some older Wonder Woman stuff for a decent price,
Yeah, I
which
bought
I
it
I
when I
think is
when I
cool.
look for my like run fillers of Punisher or X-Men or whatever, and I'm looking for the single issues. Me, once in a while I'll come across like oh, this book is like a $30 book on eBay and they're selling it in a dollar bin. I've come across a few of those like $20 books, $30 books, but I never come across like a big uh book that's like 100, or 200. Like I've gotten 15, $20 books. I seen I think it was Francis. I don't know if you heard of Francis McMiniman.
Yes. Yep.
I think it was him. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I think it was him that found Batman Adventures number 12, the first appearance of Harley, and he said he found it
Wow.
in like a dollar bin. I was
Oh
like,
my God.
wow, like
That's
damn,
pretty
like a
awesome.
dollar bin, really, like that's awesome. I
That
like to hear
is.
that type of stuff,
That
or
story,
some,
that'd be a cool story for sure. Yeah,
oh
that's a
hell
video
yeah,
to
or
watch.
like I got this $400 book and I worked this guy down to $100. Like that's like wow, like you trip out on those. You're like wow, my boy did this, like.
Yeah, no, I mean when people score books like that, it's you're always happy to like I'm always happy to see someone get a book that they really want.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you can hear it, you can see it, the excitement.
Yeah, you could feel their excitement through them.
Yeah,
They're excited. Look,
totally.
I found this book for $1. I feel excited for them. Like damn,
Yeah.
like that's awesome. Like I wish it was me, but it's still awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I just recently got my Ms. Marvel #1, and I love it. I'm totally stoked about it.
Oh hell yeah, that book
So
was going for like when the movie was announced, that book was going for $100.
yeah, I got it
It
for a
went
really
down a
good
little bit,
good price. So
but yeah, it was going for it
I
was
was
going
lucky.
for it was going for a buck there.
It took me a while. It took me a long while. I could have bought that book like 2 years ago for like $8 somewhere probably before they announced the movie. But you see what happens? They announce the movie and then bang,
Yeah,
everything
then
just
bam, it
jacks
went
up.
yeah, it went super high.
The movie
I'm not
hasn't
gonna lie
even
to you.
been
As soon as
cast
that
yet, or
as soon as that trailer came out from Superman, I put
yeah,
all my first appearances of Doomsday up on eBay.
you probably all
I
went,
put, I
eh?
put all of them
All you
up on
buy your
eBay.
omnibuses?
They're gonna sell right now. Literally,
Omni buy?
I put like 10 of them, and literally within an hour, all of them sold.
Of
I put
course,
like
yeah.
all of them separate. I didn't sell them in a lot. I sold each one separate, and literally like in an hour, all of them were gone.
You
I
have
go
money
these
for
books.
trades, Jay.
Yeah, these books I got for $2, $3. I sold each one for like 25. So I was like, all right, that's a good amount. So expect a good haul in my next video. Once I'm gonna order some, I'm looking to see what I want. Expect to, I'm gonna order a few things I actually want instead of those books, some hardcovers or omnibuses or whatever. But yeah, definitely. And these books I had from like '93 or something, from when I was like a kid.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
don't really have like an attachment to them or anything, but I remember buying them as a kid. The one I want was I have my Wolverine 100. I also bought that. I bought that as a teenager when I didn't even collect books no more. But for some reason, that book is worth a lot to me. Like it's not worth a lot. Like if you put on eBay, it goes for like $5, but it's worth a lot to me. Like
Yeah. My collection, I don't have a big money collection of books at all, but each of them, like the books that I have mean a lot to me. And that's another reason, like I in my latest video, I was saying why I love this community so much, despite the trolls, despite the arguments and things that go on. That to me, the overall thing is I get to do stuff like this. I get to come on, talk with you, talk with Tim. I get to interact, and I totally don't have this
oh,
offline. Like
that's
there's
a
there's nobody that I can really talk comics with. There's nobody, you know what I mean? First of all,
yeah,
being a girl, it's even worse. Like there's none of my girlfriends that collect comics. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I could talk movies with them. Like they'll go and see the comic book movies and stuff, but then I'm not really into that. So the conversation doesn't really happen, you
yeah,
know?
definitely. That's a
And
big part.
yeah, like even my family, like my sister and them, like they're like, "What are you going to this store for every Wednesday religiously? Like what are you doing?" Like, why does it bother you so much when you don't go? Like,
Yeah,
I'm like, because I don't know. I gotta go. I gotta get my books. I gotta see what's there. I gotta, talk
yeah,
to the people in the shop on a handful of people in the shop that I can talk comics with. So,
yeah. Talking books and stuff on YouTube with people is a big part of why I collect. Cause out here at home, it's like real negative about comics. When I bought them as a kid, it was cool, whatever, and I talked to my friends about it, and they bought them too. My mom was like, "Oh, that's fine." They're into their little hobby. But as a grown up, when I got back into it, like about a year ago, it's been like real negative. It's like what, like, cause I one day I asked my mom, like, whatever happened to all my old comics? And I went digging through boxes of all my old stuff, and she found all my old toys, sold them, all my comics,
oh
everything, like
no.
sold a lot of stuff, and she was, this was
Oh,
left over. And I go, oh, and I started like looking to see what I had there, see if I had anything of value, and I started ordering books again, and it was like real negative. They're like, "What? Like you're not a kid anymore. Like why are you buying that shit? Like don't
yep.
waste your money on this. What are you doing reading these
You've
little
got bills
kids?
to pay. Why are you buying
Yeah, like why are
books?
you buying these coloring books? My grandma too. Like she's like
Oh,
stop spending your money on that.
yeah.
And my grandma she's old, so old people they get pissed. They'll cuss you out and they'll like snatch it from you and like throw it on the floor. Like
Grow up, Jay.
yeah,
Don't read
yeah.
these funny picture books
Yeah, it was
anymore.
like, and even like my girlfriend was like, why are you buying that? Like, oh, hold up, let's stop at the store. I'm buying this. And they're like, what's that? Like, don't spend your money on that. And it's like, it was all bad. So that right away would have encouraged me to stop. Like, yeah, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And then
Well,
when I started like,
I blame all you guys. I blame all you guys because you guys are the ones that
yeah, like I
encourage
started,
my bad habit, right?
yeah, like yeah, it encourages you because you have somebody to talk to about this stuff, and they're into it just as much as you are. Like, did you see the latest issue, or have you read this book? And a lot
Yep.
of it is experiencing reading a lot of these stories for the first time to me. I know the characters, but the stories themselves are a lot of them are for the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to talk to someone about, oh, did you see that plot twist there, or did you ever I never knew this guy was the killer, or
Well,
and you have nobody to talk to that about. And here through
I gotta
YouTube, I do.
I gotta totally thank you for inviting me to be on with you. Thank you for including me in the conversation. You and Tim, like, I
Oh,
don't get to do
definitely.
this
You
a
know what?
lot,
I
so
gotta thank you guys for coming on. I've made it. I was talking about this through a couple of my last videos. That anyone that wants to come on, let me know. Message me on Twitter or on the post message. You could private message on Twitter. We set up a date time, have these chats because I love talking about this stuff, and I have no one to talk about it here. If I bring it up, it's like they're ready to
yeah,
slap me. Nah,
yeah.
but they're like, oh, you're still talking about that.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel you. I don't really have anyone to talk comics with either. So, all my friends out here that enjoy the same stuff I do, I love interacting with all of you guys. And I always say
so
that, in the real world, being a girl and trying to like sort of be taken seriously in comic book shops and whatever, it's difficult. But here, it's like the complete flip side of this. I
mhm.
have the most support from the men in this community. I have the most encouragement, and you guys are, people invite me to be on hangouts and stuff. They want to include me, and I'm very very like humbled by that, and I'm very appreciative of it because it's cool. It's cool just to sit and talk comics, and I mean, oh my God, we've been on here for ages now. I think.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh, yeah. Hey, oh yeah. You know what? You're right. You're right. I'm ready to we'll call it a wrap right now. I just wanna say anybody definitely invite feel welcome to message me whenever you guys wanna do these chats. We set up a date and time. Get a few people, 2, 3 is good to chat about books and Oh, also, yeah, message me to Twitter. Anybody wants to do it, and if you want to invite somebody, that's cool. Or if I plan on, but just conversate with me about who it is you're planning to invite, because I know some people don't necessarily talk to other people or whatever. So we don't want to have one of those awkward situations. So let me know who it is you're planning to invite, or I'll let you know who it is I'm planning to invite, so we could get everything straight. And we could definitely do this. Anybody that feel welcome to do this, let me know. And yeah, we'll cut it a wrap right here because it has been running for a while, and I don't want it to take forever to load. I don't know how long it takes to load to the page or whatever. I'll see if I cut it into 2 videos. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for participating in the chat right here, and thanks to Cami and Tim for participating. Thanks, guys, and see when we get ready to do this again, guys.
All right, thanks, Jay. Thanks,
All
Tim.
right,
Hi.
all right, people.